based and red pilled.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Sam Sauce, thanks for the 26 months in a row and being a part of the frenzy. Being incredibly pog, I appreciate you. Thank you. I Like Cats for the $5 tip. Super chat, thank you, thank you. Love you, Shark. Missed the streams. Me too. Nice to have you back. Nice to see you all. Hope you all are doing well. Hey, hi, hello, and welcome. I'm the host of the Nightmare, Shark30, and I'm happy to have you. Okay, so haven't been here for a little bit. And this stream is going to be a little bit different. These next couple streams are going to be a little bit different than the ones that you are normally used to. Usually I come pretty prepared. And we talk about things that I already have loaded up to go over. But today's stream and the next couple streams are going to be a little bit different, mostly because I've been pretty out of the loop with a lot of things. And so I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good to be able to just read a bunch of stuff. Today is like a Noggin expansion day. Today's a reading day. Today's a learning day. Today's a day to go over a bunch of different things. Usually this is the type of stuff that I do off stream, before I stream, and then bring to you guys prepared stuff to look over. But today, and for the, like I said, the next couple streams are going to be, we're just gonna go at it. We're just gonna well, we're gonna go at stuff together because there's so many things that have been happening, and I've saved a lot of things, I've skimmed a lot of things, but I haven't deep dived into a lot of things. And there's so much stuff that's been happening. Things just keep happening. 2023 was kind of nothing ever happens until the Israel Gaza war. And then 2024 has been something always happens. the nothing ever happens people are quaking in their boots right now because very many things have been happening, and they just simply keep happening. They actually won't stop. Very different than years prior, I must say. Things will not stop happening. Oh yeah, also the space changed a little bit from last time you saw it. It was when I just moved a lot of the stuff over to this corner of the room. But now it's I think it looks a whole lot better. I think it looks a whole lot better now. And you get to see the saltwater tank, the little clownfish that I have in there now too. You'll see him popping his head out every now and again. Obviously, Peepo has found a nice spot behind me as well. So yeah, I think it's I don't know. I don't think it's too bad. Like Jon Stewart of political streamers pops out of hiatus till after the mushroom cloud appears. Hey guys, well that was crazy, wasn't it? Are we talking about Assad getting overthrown? We're talking about election fallout. We're talking about Assad getting overthrown. We're talking about Israel. We're talking about Twitter. We're talking about Blue Sky. We're talking about Trump. We're talking about J Diddy, Jay-Z being accused of diddling a 12-year-old. Horrible things going on. Horrible things going on. We're talking about that CEO shooter. We're talking about Trump maniacs who have committed crimes during the election. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Any Hawk Tua coin? We might talk about Hawk Tua coin, actually. We just might. You're right. You're so right. If you guys don't know, Haley Welch, as I think her name is, Hawk Tua girl, you may know her as the girl who went, Hawk Tua, spit on that thing, pull on that coin. Basically what she did is that she went the classic route that every one of these, pop-up star influencers go on, except for like the pretty decent and cool ones, where when it comes to her starting up a crypto coin, yes, you heard that right, a crypto coin, it was called Hawk coin, and before it dropped, like 99% of the coins were owned by like 10 shareholders, and the coin dropped. Obviously her and her friends boosted it, people bought it, and then they pulled it immediately, taking like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars from her fans. Yeah, pretty bad stuff there. It's him, it's the guy. Alec, we were talking about your wedding last night. I thought it was kind of funny, because I described it as woke leftist has whitest wedding to ever exist, about how Kate's sister started speaking in ancient Gaelic, and speaking in tongues while you all tied your hands together with an ancient knot ribbon adorned in prehistorical runes from the ancient peoples you all dawned from. I thought it was pretty crazy. It was pretty cool though. Have you considered that you're just racist against white people? Yes, that was my first thought, and I liked it. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. I also talked about how Squirrel Girl from Marvel Rivals talks like half of the girls that I met. Me and Lissa met while we were there. It was pretty funny. They were good. They're all good people. Did I ever tell you that while we were leaving, we actually got stopped by Katie's sisters and I think some of her cousins, and some friends as well. While we were leaving, they were like, they stopped my girlfriend. They stopped Lissa, and they were like, "You're beautiful. Your dress is beautiful. Your hair is beautiful. Your makeup is beautiful. You're so fucking beautiful." I was like, "Thank you. You're right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I was about to take a bow, honestly. It was very nice." They're very nice girls. We told them they wanted to hear, they're like girls who love stories, so they wanted to hear how we met and everything. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. I liked it. It was nice. They're very nice people. Glad you had a good time. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. After we like slobbered down your pimento cheese, we went on a little meet and greet. And yeah, we had a whole bunch of fun. Just noticed the shirt. It slaps. Bets a pizza in a town, huh? We do need to go back and play a little bit more Pizza Tower every now and again. I feel like that'd be very nice. I feel like it could be my Enter the Gungeon sort of like flow state game if I get really good at it. I'm not, but like if I was. What do you guys think that we should start with, huh? That Hasan Piker guy, he was doing a lot of, he was doing the rounds, wasn't he? He was on Pod Save America and he was also on CNN, is that right? Let's take a look at some of that. I guess we can get back to some election dissection, some stuff along those lines. Let's give a little peep. Let's give a little peep on some of that. For a few, yeah, sure, no problem. Take care. Let's get into it because later, we have a lot of reading and a lot of watching to do today. And then after that, we have a whole lot of Marvel Rivals to play tonight. So it's going to be a very interesting day today. I plan for it to be a jam-packed day today. So let's check some stuff out, huh? What do y'all think? Let's see. So there was the Hasan Piker,
Tony O'Sullivan.
Good Lord, please, my ears, fug. So yeah, there's like the Hasan Piker CNN segment. This one's kind of funny. It's like the screen cap is him doing push-ups. So this is really the play. They're like, okay, like they're all like, okay, here's the thing. Everybody's always talking about the like left's Joe Rogan. I said it before, like the right doesn't even really have a Joe Rogan. He really changes his opinion depending on who he's talking to. He just happens to talk to more conservatives. Rogan is like a really curious boy. He's not very tied into anything besides the establishment government is lying to me, except for when I like the guy who's in the government and he says that the government's lying to me. That guy in the government is who I trust, right? But it seems a little nonsensical, but a lot of people believe this. I mean, Trump supporters literally believe this. Donald Trump is the swamp. He's the swamp monster. He is the king of the mire. Like literally, not only is he like a swamp monster and like how he acts, he's literally become a Florida man. He can't become any more swamp monster than he literally is. He put people who have like extremist Zionist views, war hawks, racists, business owners, big bankers, people like venture capitalist is his literal running mate. He's the billionaire like panel that he's put together. I mean, like the only thing that really ties them together is that they're like, we're in the government now because the government before is bad, but the government is now good because we're in it. And then they're like, oh yeah, sure, government good now. Government bad before, but government good now. And that's basically it. That's the only thing that really ties any of his views together. So if you're like government good, government bad now and before, but government could be good if I was there, then his ears start to perk up. Outside of it, he's everywhere, really. But I don't know, like to become the left's Joe Rogan, I gotta start seeing Hasan Piker like courtside on a couple more NBA games. Until then, he's just some guy. I hate to say it. Let's take a look at this segment.
This is Hasan Piker.
This is my dog Kaya. I thought you legitimately were gonna work out.
I could do some weights.
I'm so sorry. I thought he was gonna be like, I thought you were taller. He's not short either. He's like 5'10" or something. Hasan's just like 6 foot something, right?
He's a social media superstar with almost 3 million followers on the video streaming platform Twitch.
They're eating the pets.
So this is that whole masculinity thing people are talking about, huh? And he's part of a growing group of streamers and podcasters reaching young men online, a space Trump tapped into to reach young male voters.
Punch in, then you won't be able to see that he's not doing any weights.
But Hasan is not a Trump supporter. He's a progressive, a fan of Bernie and AOC. The Democratic Party even invited him to the DNC in August. One thing we've been...
I'm not gonna lie, I did think that was kind of wild how Hasan got invited to the DNC. I thought he just showed up. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't follow Hasan. I thought his ass just showed up and he got like a booth. I thought like when the DNC happens that you could like pay for a spot or something, right? If you're media. And he was just media. He got invited. He was invited like freaking what's Harrison, not Harrison. It's Harrison something, isn't it? Jamie Harrison. Jamie Harrison sent him an invite. Is that true? I hate to say it, but I really did think his ass just showed up. That's cool though. That's cool though. They're reaching out. I still think it was kind of wild how everybody like hem and haws about how Harris had no social media, like had no mingling with any social media out there. But like, man, there are so many people out there who she could have been, whose channels and shows and programs that she could have been on online, but she just decided not to. She could have done something with Stephen Smith, honestly, especially after his like pretty viral confrontations with Sean Hannity and Fox News. Like that really could have reached some people, but once again, I'm still not really sure if anything could have really reached enough people for her to win this election cycle. I mean, people just stopped caring
for weeks. Now, is that the left needs a Joe Rogan?
Yeah. I don't think that the Democratic Party can podcast itself out of this issue. Joe Rogan, he endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2020. Maybe they should do an autopsy on why he left the party. I like to work out. I'm very bro-y. A lot of people look at the optics of that and they don't like it. They think like, oh, well, he's a little toxic, isn't he? And they don't really listen to what I have to say because I'm significantly more progressive than the average Democratic.
You're right. She really should have gone on the Hawk Tua podcast. My bad. You mean Talk Tua. The Talk Tua podcast. That kind of would have gone crazy. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this the other stream, right? Where we were like, they keep trying to bring in people who were never part of the Democratic Party, but stop talking about the people who left the Democratic Party. They love bringing up people who left the Republican Party, but never talk about people who left the Democratic Party, right? Now, Rogan was never like, this is a little rhetorical flourish. Rogan was never a part of the Democratic Party, but he did like Bernie. He did like Bernie. And there is a obvious pull from people who at least position themselves like Bernie and Trump compared to people who position themselves like Clinton and Harris and Biden. There's something very different there.
Campaign.
Yeah, I've heard you say when it comes to stuff that guys like, you know, you seek that stuff out online, whether it's watching a streamer, whether it's watching guys talking about working out and fitness. You say that the right wing just dominates that space.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think that's why I started on Twitch, right? I know for a fact that the video game space is like people who consume this culture, people who are a part of this culture are not all right wing. I wanted to showcase to people that like, no, you can be a progressive person, you can be a leftist and like have fun at the same time.
How many people were watching your live stream on election night?
The total.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He probably yapped for like 30 minutes and they cut that down pretty strong. But I'm gonna be honest, like the big reason why a lot of like right-wing spaces seem like, why a lot of guys spaces seem pretty right-wing coded For one, guys are just a little bit more conservative. That's true. But two, a lot of people don't say it, but like the conservative party and conservatives are right wing, they're right wing, like identitarian, idpol, people. Like identity politics is their bread and butter. Like Donald Trump is the white president. He is the white identity politics president. He is the down home apple pie white American president. That is his base. Nobody can say that that's not. That is his 100% base. That's how they position themselves as. And when it comes to conservatives, they position themselves as the white. There are different demographic groups here. They don't always have to be the same. White, male, okay. Demographic group, white male, like demographic group. They want to do identity politics for those types of people who fall under the white and or male category of just human being, like demographic, okay? So why those spaces seem right-wing coded is because they've been doing the thing that they've been wanting to do, which is inject themselves into these spaces where the people who they're trying to reach are, and it's worked out pretty well, right? Like if you're the dude bro, like especially like white dude, like idpol people, you want to get into those spaces and find those people and be like, hey man, them immigrants sure suck now, do they? Now don't they? Anyways, put another 50 on the bar, bro. Then obviously you're going to be going to those types of spaces. That's what you do. That's why it's like that. Yeah, we can talk about a whole bunch of like structural, societal like type of stuff, but like I'm sorry, but like the people who want to reach the people who they want to reach are gonna go to where they are. The conservatives who want to do identity politics for dudes are gonna go to where dudes are, and that is the UFC. That sometimes is golf. You know, that's the gyms, that's gaming, that's where they are. That's where dudes are. That's where guys are. Really. And so obviously those spaces are going to have more people, or the political groups who are going out to try to convince these people to register as Republicans and stuff like that are going to go to those spaces and try to get them to vote and try to inject their politics and their identity politics into those spaces. Yes, obviously, 100%. Yes. Yeah, so that's really how it happens. To begin with, they go in and they taint those spaces and they get people to think like these types of things, and simply because they're the ones mostly going into these spaces and injecting their ideology into it to change the cultural makeup of the people who are in there for political gain. There are way less people who are going to push back against them. Way less people who are going to push back against them, and so they can form echo chambers out of hobby groups and interest groups that used to be far less politically charged and motivated and politically aligned, and then the people who are in there can be like, I can't believe they say this stuff about us, we're just enjoying our hobby, when they're being used as tools for a political movement who has their worst interest in mind, because they just want to farm their being, their soul, for money and capital on the other end once they vote for them the way they want, you know? I'm sorry, but like Elon Musk isn't trying to buy up all these companies, and he didn't like schmooze his way into the federal government and is running around to different countries now because he thought he was going to lose money off of it. I hate to be the one to say it, but all these business leaders and billionaires aren't hopping into the Donald Trump campaign because they think that he's going to lose them money. Right? Whether or not it's true, they don't think that's what's going to happen. And like the little guy on the end who just wants to lift his little weights, he's the one who gets played and screwed. And not chopped and skewed. Like our favorite music. Isn't that right, chat?
Unique number was 7.5 million.
There's a general sense that when it comes to the world of podcasts, alternative media, I don't even know what you want to call it, that Trump did a much better job with that than Democrats and Harris.
Absolutely. I think that's true. I was a naysayer early. When I saw the Aiden Ross collab, I thought this doesn't have emotion.
So this is Trump with Aiden Ross.
When Trump went on Aiden Ross's stream, I was like, it was awkward. It was weird. But then I saw Trump on Theo Vaughn. and he started talking about cocaine, and I was like, uh-oh, this humanizes him.
Cocaine a stronger
Oh yeah.
up?
Yeah. Cocaine.
So,
will make
you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
cocaine will turn you into a damn owl, homie. You know what I'm saying? It'll.
Harris did consider going on Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
but she didn't.
So that was a mistake as well, I think, because Joe Rogan can't deliver adversarial interviews if his life depended on it.
What is it that the Democrat Party has to do differently?
Well,
Now, I do think that's true that he can't. Like, I don't think that he could. Like, I don't think he even has it in him to be like confrontational with someone. Really, I don't. Not like super confrontational for like the whole interview. No, I don't think he can't. I don't. I physically don't think that he could do it. Yeah. But he has his moments. Like I remember when Ruben was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna remove all the housing regulations, and so that builders and contractors can be able to build houses more cheaply, and finally housing prices will go down. And he was like, what? But what if they start making all the buildings out of like sticks and shit? He's like, well, you know, the market will just regulate that, my dude. And and if your house just falls down and kills the whole family, then people will be like, oh yeah, so I won't buy a house from that contractor anymore. And Joe Rogan was like, what the hell are you talking about, man? That sounds dumb as hell. It's happened before, but not the whole interview. The rest of the interview, he was slobbering a little bit. He's a slobber master.
I think that they need to change their policies.
It's a policy thing for
Yes, it's 100% a policy thing. Which
I'll say, right?
Which is the boring answer. Although it would be very self-serving for me to say, I'm the left's Joe Rogan, the Democratic Party should give me millions of dollars. That's not going to solve this problem. What will solve this problem is if the Democratic Party actually adopts real left-wing economic populist messaging instead of purposefully avoiding that stuff because they're terrified of upsetting their corporate donors. I think Trump speaks to male insecurities better, and I think Trump speaks to the anger that people have, whereas the other side of the political spectrum does not speak to that anger at all.
There's been a lot of controversy.
No, I think that was a really good point. I mean, we talked about this before. I said it in a little bit of different way where I was like, it's time for Democrats to become evil. And I think he's trying to be, I don't think he would really disagree, but it's like, Kyle said it's time for Dems to be more unhinged. I said it's time for them to be more evil. He said it's time for them to speak to anger. But I think all of these are right in kind of getting at the same things where, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, when the base at the Harris rally was chanting "lock him up," they should have been like, she should have been like, he does deserve to go, he needs to go to jail. This guy should go to jail. He belongs in jail, right? Now, what I'm not sure if I'm personally gonna lock him up, but we're gonna make sure that justice is going to be served. Like if she really like hit on that, I'm the prosecutor versus pedophile. Like we're gonna make sure that justice is served, and not like, oh, I'm just gonna keep my hands off, and you know, I mean, like hopefully somebody deals with it. You know, we can't expect God to do all the work. I hate to be the one to say it. We wish he would, but we can't expect God to do all of the work. We gotta like pull ourselves up by our bootstraps a little bit on that one. We gotta do something about it. And we got to do something about him, right? And like, you know, justice should be served. You know, justice should be served. I mean, not talking about that. Not talking about like the anger that a lot of people feel when it comes to like leaving off how businesses have really screwed people over, and it's just like a function of just like the world that all these prices went up so high, and just taking it on the chin that everybody has been calling you, saying that you press the milk and eggs go up button. With all of this type of stuff, just kind of ceding the entirety of the immigration issue to Republicans, just like without like a whole lot of pushback whatsoever, completely dropping Dreamers. We haven't spoken about Dreamers in forever. We haven't spoken about like the concentration camps on the border like in forever. We haven't talked about how Texas has literally gone against the US Supreme Court in order to in order to foil the federal government to try to get people like immigrants to drown in the Rio Grande River to stop them because they don't want them to cross the border. Joe Biden literally just rolled over. He literally just completely rolled over when it came to that. He allowed them to just go against the like Texas went against the rulings of the U.S. Supreme Court and stopped the federal government from having access to a part of the U.S. border because they wanted to ensure as many Mexicans drowned in the Rio Grande as humanly possible. And Biden just like shrugged and pretended it wasn't happening, right? Like instead of cracking the whip on those guys, which I really think should have happened. And like, you can't expect your entire base to care about something when you don't. How are like normie Dems supposed to care when you don't? How do you expect, what other option do you think was going to happen when you decide to like let Donald Trump hop and skip away after you institute the guy who was literally screwed over and should be on the U.S. Supreme Court, Merrick Garland? You allow him to let Donald Trump get away after you finally put him in the DOJ seat. The closest thing to being a Supreme Court justice that you could possibly get is, besides being a federal court justice, and telling him not to prosecute the guy who literally tried to overthrow the U.S. government. How in the world do you expect people to care when you don't? That's obvious. You obviously don't care. I remember I was speaking to somebody the other day. About this because they know I stream about this type of stuff. And he said we got to the topic of, we got to the topic of Donald Trump trying to overthrow the government, the government, January 6th and whatnot. And I basically made the same point, which is that Democrats completely fumbled and Donald Trump should have been arraigned in court on like January 20th, 12:01 p.m., like a minute after Donald Trump got in office. That's a minute after he left office, right? He should have been on his way to like the DC Circuit Court, federal court, like the second that finished up. I'm going to be honest, he should have been in handcuffs the second that finished up. And every single second that they spent like pussyfooting around about this issue and being like, oh, somebody else maybe hopefully will take care of it. Hopefully somebody will have him like have justice. It only meant less people would care about the issue, because obviously if the federal government isn't going to give a shit about a guy who literally tried to overthrow the government, then obviously I guess I shouldn't care either. And his response, he's playing a little bit of devil's advocate, but I know he was kind of believing it a little bit too in his heart, okay? Deep down, a little bit there in his heart, he was like, well, maybe the fact that it was like, well, maybe the fact that they didn't spend time prosecuting him was probably because they knew that they probably didn't have a good case against him, because maybe he didn't really do that much wrong to begin with. And I'm like, I'm so glad that you said this, because it is everything that I mean. The fact that somebody can even think that, oh, the reason why they're not prosecuting Trump is because they don't have a case and it's just like all political fluff, is exactly the reason why they should have locked him up. Exactly the reason why they should have put him in jail. Why in the world can I hate to say it, comparatively backwater country as in Brazil can throw their attempted dictator in jail before apparently the shining city on a hill, the United States can? Why? Why do you not care? And so now we're in this position. Donald Trump should be serving a lengthy sentence in prison right now. And it should have been, in the case, should have been getting done back in 2021, 22, 23. You beginning to start preliminary proceedings against this guy in mid 2024 is insane to me. You've lost your mind. And so because they lost their mind, America lost their minds along with them. It just makes absolutely no sense. Well, it makes perfect sense. They wanted to take Joe Biden came in with the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. After the Obama administration, I could work with the Republican. Nobody wanted to hear that. Nobody wanted to hear that. Like, yes, it's a good comeback for when conservatives are like, Barack Obama and Donald and Joe Biden, the most divisive president. And we're like, well, he's not divisive. He didn't even try and throw away the key on the guy who tried to be a literal dictator and overthrow the government. They don't care. Republicans don't care. They don't care about hypocrisy. They only understand power. Two things, power and pain. That's the only things they understand. When you have more power than them, they understand it. When you can inflict pain on them politically, they can understand it. Outside of any of that, they don't react to anything. They become brain dead when it comes to moral consistency, when it comes to logical fallacies, when it comes to irreconcilable beliefs about the world. It does not matter. It does not matter. It's like trying to draw blood from a stone. Okay, it does not matter. Power, pain, that's what matters. And so so Joe Biden's administration decided to use no power to inflict no pain on the guy who tried to overthrow the government. And so obviously the obvious response is, why should we care? Remember those polls that we looked at, how slowly over the course of years during the Biden administration that people stopped believing that Donald Trump was really that bad of a guy? We literally let him get away and heal. He was regenerating in the corner while nobody chased him. Okay, he was at one HP, and he ran off. He scurried off, and they allowed him to re-heal back to full. And they thought that he was just gone. They thought he literally disappeared, and he hopped back in the fight and got a team wipe. He wiped the team. You fed him a pentakill. What are we supposed to do about this? He literally fucking pentakilled the remains of the Obama administration. Okay? David Plouffe, Harris, Biden, Clinton. All right? There's another one in there. Who else? Jon Favreau. I'm throwing him in. Him too. They're gone. They're gone now. Okay? He got a team wipe. They're gone now. And so, like, what do we do now? Suffer? I guess that's it, right? That's the only thing that's left for us. Now, after they fumbled the ball so horribly, like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do here? And this is just what they wrought, man. There's a whole bunch of things out. Like, I remember, like, some of you who watched during the election night stream, I was a little calmer. I was like, well, I even tweeted it out before. I was like, win or lose. I tweeted out. Some of you all follow me on the Bird app. You might have seen the tweet where I was like, win or lose, I won't feel as bad, because even if we do lose, I knew we had a fighting chance with Harris at the top of the ticket, as opposed to Biden, who would have gotten, who we would have seen like a 1980s Republican style win, around the country. And I kind of still feel that way. I feel that way about like the last part when it comes to like Biden being in office would have staying in the race would have like been the like worst possible situation. But I've changed on like feeling not too bad because we had like a fighting chance. Harris like actually threw the game. She clutched. Oh, my bad. She choked. It was a clutch or kick situation, and she choked. And I hate to say it, it's kick. It's time. She needs to be kicked. Like, I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know. Like, if she comes back in 2025, 2028 or whatever, like, whatever, man. It's definitely a clutch or kick situation. It is. In this time, the kick is finally here. We need to kick her out. Kick her from the game. kick her from the game. Absolutely not. She does not deserve to be here because she fumbled the ball. And the reason why I said this specifically because, well, I'll talk about it in a bit, but it comes to, remember how she was like, remember how we were always like, why doesn't she separate herself from Joe Biden more? Like when it came to the whole, oh, she's woman Biden, she's just like Biden, she wants to run just like Biden, she wants to be another part of the Biden administration, she thinks that Bidenomics works, all that type of shit, and she didn't want to like separate herself from it. I was thinking that she didn't want to, she was like, you know, tiptoeing around the issue mostly because she thought that it was going to alienate the Democratic base. But I was like, most Democrats want you to also say that you should be separated from the Biden administration. Like we want something new. The reason why she didn't wasn't because of strategy. She actually fell in love with Joe Biden. And I'm not joking. She is actually Joe Biden's number one fan now. Remember how we were talking about Biden dead enders beforehand? Like people who were like, oh, Joe should stay in the race. The reason why she wasn't like doing anything in the background to help like curry favor with delegates beforehand was because she genuinely believed that Joe Biden could win. And she genuinely believes that Joe Biden is best suited for the job. And she genuinely believes that he shouldn't have dropped out. And she genuinely, in her heart, believes that not separating herself from Joe Biden is fine, and she can get around it because she could convince people that Joe Biden really wasn't that bad after all. She was Biden's number one fan. She was a Biden dead ender to her campaign's dying breath. She was serious. When she said we love Joe, she said it with her whole chest, chat. And I was flabbergasted when I read it. I almost fell to my knees. I wasn't streaming. I was just looking. I was pulling up some articles and everything. I was pulling up some articles to talk about on stream sometime. And an actual article dropped from a Harris campaign insider. Like, we begged Harris to separate herself from Biden because like the polls showed that she was going to get clapped if she didn't. And she wouldn't. She said, F that noise. I'm not doing it. I ain't separating myself. And I couldn't it was I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, man. The pain I felt I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack, man. I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack. Salvia, thank you so much for the tier 1, joining the frenzy, being incredibly pog. I appreciate you. Thank you. Paying the shark tax yet again. I love being a little tax collector. Thanks for remaining a part of the frontier. Love to see you again. Happy to be here. Can I pull up this article really quick? I need to pull up this dang article because I'm flab. I wanted to jump out of when I started Googling. Like the tallest the tallest like parking garages in my area, you know, where I had access to the roof. It was the worst situation I've ever heard in my entire life. They actually threw it. Remember how we were like a lot of you all who were back during like the Trump administration, early Biden administration. Remember like the term that we used so much was like Democrats snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Democrats' secret technique, their number one ability is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And that I think completely describes the situation in full. Like that's it right there in full. Yeah, it's a Democratic classic. Okay, let me see if I can pull this up. Where is this in pure insanity? It's gonna. I don't think I have this article on hand at the moment. It would take like a sec. It might take just like a second to pull it up. Just bear with me for a second. I'm trying to put y'all on game. Okay. Where is this? The Democratic centrists are striking back. An article title that makes me want to throw up. Welcome back. We were talking about the Harris campaign just a little bit. Oh, it was on Pod Save America. My lord. Let me see. Okay, yeah, it was on Pod Save. I think I found it. 1 second.
Welcome to Pod Save America. I'm Dan Pfeiffer. We have a special show for you today. I am here in Washington, D.C., where I'm about to sit down with the leadership of the Harris Walz campaign for their first, something that I think, as evidenced by the answer on The View, she was at least personally uncomfortable with.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, first of all, I think people, when they vote for president, want to vote about the future. And they saw in the vice president someone they didn't know, a lot about a background. So, you know, who she was, what she stood for, what she did as vice president. So in every step of what we were trying to do, we had to tell a pretty robust story in one ad or one policy rollout or one event that you don't often have to do because of the time we were in. But I do think that we really focused from the get-go on how she was different than everyone else, different than Joe Biden, different than Donald Trump. And at the end of the day, the choice was her versus Donald Trump. And at the same time, you know, she was very clear that she was a new generation of leadership, but it wasn't just like a statement. It was, here's what I need to focus on. Her first policy announcements were economic, talking about housing, talking about lowering costs, understanding that people really didn't feel like things were progressing in the way that they wanted to, a la the right track, wrong track data, but how she she brought her own point of view to thinking about housing, sandwich generation. That was probably her biggest applause line, one of the best testing things that we did. That wasn't a poll tested, let's work on this poll, this data to tell us this is the right issue we should go talk about. That was about her life and also understanding what people in the country were really needing. So I think that in a 107-day race, it is very difficult to do all the things you would normally do in a year and a half, 2 years. But I think wherever we had an opportunity, the vice president did put her own stamp on this and did it in a deeper way than I think probably we got the kind of full breadth of coverage on it. Of course, when you have an administration that a lot of progress has been made and you're part of that progress, it's complicated when you're asked questions in certain ways. But at the end of the day, I think she really, every time she turned, talked to a voter, every time she was out on the stump, she really leaned into her own vision. But the headwinds were tough. I will also, though, add, of course, we lost. So I'm not here to say that that didn't happen. We would much rather not have that happen. But where she campaigned, we did way better than the rest of the country. And Donald Trump did worse, to the point that you were just talking about with Pluff. The idea that people have just a well-constructed, already baked-in idea about Trump and they don't need to learn anymore is just complete fallacy. I mean, his numbers are stronger today than they have ever been. Yeah. And that was critical for us. And we also believe this race was not just about Kamala Harris. It was Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. And we had to set that choice and that frame up. And I think that we were able to, anywhere we campaigned in all 7 of these states, where Donald Trump, by the way, campaigned too. He did worse and we did better. And we did make real progress against these national headwinds. If in every other state but the battlegrounds there was a negative 8-point shift to the right, in the battlegrounds there was only 3. So we needed it to be better than that. And perhaps if we had more time, we could have done that. But I think that's fundamental, that when people learn more about her, understood what she stood for, where she came from, and what her vision was, they responded well to that, and they responded in a favorable way, especially in contrast to a point of view that Donald Trump will be worse. And I think
Okay, so yes, obviously, when you do, where the places where you campaign, you usually do better, right? When I spend political resources in a place during a campaign, I do better in those places. Okay, cool. Like, welcome to politics, I guess. If she did worse, obviously that would be way, way worse and a much different thing to talk about. But yes, obviously, yeah, it's okay, cool, good job, right? Good job. You lost and you got crushed as well. And it could have been better. It could have been better too. Now, once again, I'm not sure if she definitely could have totally won, but I do know that it could have been better because we know what people don't like to hear from her, and she couldn't stop herself. I know there's a little bit of capping here and a little bit of like protecting her own ass here from these top advisors. And she's going to get a little bit more into the things like the actual question here, which is Harris was personally uncomfortable with distancing herself from Biden. But like, if you guys remember some of this, like back during the campaign, Harris says there's not much she would have done differently than Biden over the last 4 years. When you are running to take up the mantle from the lowest approved president in presidential approval history of the United States of America, for the entirety of our country that has ever existed, and you say that there's not much you would do different when people want you to do a lot different, you can't tell me you were actually serious about winning. There's something more serious to her in that moment than winning, because she knows the data. She knows the fact that when she says, I love Joe Biden is an amazing president, he is a perfect angel, and I would never do anything different than what he would do, that like their numbers go down. That there are people who swear their firstborn child on never voting for her or her campaign ever during this election cycle, because your average American has a very short attention span. So maybe they'll forget. But at least during this election cycle, never, okay, ever vote. They paint sheep's blood on the outside of their door to stop the Harris Walls campaigners from entering their home. Right? They know for a fact that she knows for a fact the second she says this, that when it leaves her mouth, that it's horrible. It's political suicide. And that's why she went back in this interview, was like, well, you asked me later, like well, you asked me beforehand, that I should like, distance myself. I mean, I love Republicans. I love Republicans. And that didn't work either, because Republicans aren't going to vote for you the same way that they didn't vote for Biden last time. No, it doesn't matter how much bending over backwards he did for them. They do not care. And she pussyfooted around the whole issue constantly. She was just a loser about it every single time the question came up.
Polling shows that a lot of people, especially independent voters, really want this to be a change election, and that they tend to break for you in terms of thinking about change. You are a member of the President's administration. Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of, but also I think it's important to say with,
so
28
lame
days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And so when we think about the significance.
It's so lame. Like I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but anybody who has like more than outside of politics, okay? Because I wanted her to win. I wanted Trump to lose more than I wanted her to win. But let's just be honest with ourselves. Anybody with an IQ higher than like 30 is like can pick up this as like political bullshit. So people want to change from Joe Biden. How would you change? Well, I'm literally not him. Like that. What? That's like something that's something I would say to somebody while I was trolling them. That's an actual trolling response you say to somebody to make fun of them, just to be facetious. You're joking, you're memeing, right? And that was her actual unironic response. And then to do it one more, just to do it one bit. Well, I'm not Donald Trump either. Hey, she actually was physically made her uncomfortable to distance herself from Joe Biden. She didn't want to do it. It's just like personally, she just didn't want to do it. She loves Joe, okay? She loves Joe. She does. She loves Joe. But back to this.
That's playing out right now.
Dan, on the Biden question, we of course got that everywhere we went. And we knew what the data was. We knew we had to show her as her own person and point to the future and not try to rehash the past. But she also felt that she was part of the administration. And unless we said something like, well, I would have handled the border completely differently, we were never going to satisfy anybody. So we did talk about things like she's a different generation. Most of her career is from outside of Washington, not inside Washington. So she knows a lot of the best ideas are from across the country. Her career has been about reaching across the aisle, finding common sense ways to get things done. It's not been based in ideological politics. All of these things, we were trying to tell a story and give the impression that she was different without pointing to a specific issue.
Can I just...
And that's bullshit, dude. And everyone knew it, dude. I mean, come on. I said it during the debate. I was like, they're gonna hit her on this. When it came to like, how are you different? What are you going to do different? How can you say that people are better off now than they were beforehand? And she was like, well, I was a middle class kid. I was like, people are gonna they're gonna hit you on this. And it's hard to tell like 100 feet out, 100 days out, 50 days out, 30 days out, what's exactly going to matter and what's not going to matter. And so I couldn't tell you back then that that specifically was going to matter a whole lot more than Donald Trump being a literal rapist. Okay? I can't tell you that was totally going to matter more. We can guess, we can make ideas, we can wish, but like, what's going to matter to people when they go to the voter booth? Like, we're just going to have to see, right? And now we know, right? And her campaign had some pretty solid polling on what people were feeling in the moment while it was happening. And let's just be honest, she just didn't care. Her team was telling her that this is going to lose you the race. And she said, I don't care. I'm going to not separate myself from Joe Biden because I love Joe. I don't want to be different. I literally don't want to be different than Biden, right? Which is crazy to me because she was literally calling him a racist, Klansman, during the 2020 election. she was like, Joe, you would have been whipping my ass on the plantation if we were back then, racist ass. You were schmoozing up to fucking like Klansmen in Congress, you bitch. And now she can't even say that she would handle immigration slightly differently? Are you crazy? I don't get it. Like, I actually don't get it, because I would imagine, because it's not even that she's like okay, so a lot of people want to believe that some politicians do this stuff because they're like snakes in the grass and they're like unscrupulous or something. She has too many scruples. She cares too much to be a politician. Like, you can't, she actually she saw two pathways before her when she became the nominee. And it was better chance of winning, separate yourself from Biden, worst chance of winning, be Biden's bestie. And she went through like a fucking anime flashback of them eating ice cream and laughing together and watching movies together in the White House. And she was like, I can't do it. She genuinely thought the power of friendship was going to win her the election. And it didn't. It's true, she's an empath. She's an empath, and that's the problem. That's the problem. The power of friendship was not strong enough to win her the election, and like, she kind of knew it too. I really don't think it was that hard. I just don't think it was that hard. I think it's fine. It's politics, man. Like, here's the thing, is that Joe Biden was doing more work to separate himself from Harris than Harris was doing work to separate herself from Biden. Biden, like, if you guys remember, Biden was coming out and he's like, oh, I picked Harris to literally disagree with me in office. I made these decisions, some of these decisions by myself. I had Harris in there, and she hit me with things that I've never thought about before, right? And like, literally, nobody has any information to these conversations that happened in private in the Situation Room. She could literally go to her campaign and go, what do people not like about Joe Biden? And they could go and they could run down the list, pull out the scroll of things that people hate about Joe Biden. And she could have been like, okay, this I would have done differently. That I would have done differently. That I would have done differently. Oh, you don't like that about Joe? You don't like the way he sneezes? I sneeze differently. You don't like the way he walks? I walk differently. You don't like the way he talks? I talk differently. You know the way he looks? I look differently. I wear different shoes than him. He's Adidas, I'm Nike. Just go the opposite direction. Okay, you don't even have to go the opposite direction, but just be different. Just be categorically different. Just be like, I would just do this differently. Just at least run in a different direction, and then highlight how that's different, and highlight how you think it would be better. Not just different, better. Okay? Better. I breathe different. I sneeze different. Okay? When he needs to look at something, he wears glasses. I wear contacts. You know, he's a just completely different with everything. Just, that's what people wanted to see, and it doesn't even matter if it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter, because people aren't worrying about things that always matter. Like, I know we try and think that your average voter is some like highbrow sort of the politics connoisseur, dude. They don't know shit. Like, your average voter doesn't know anything, okay? They're too busy living their lives to deep dive into politics. They're looking for vibes, and they're looking for somebody to tell them that their life is going to get better. They want somebody to hug them and tell them that everything's going to be okay. And Donald Trump did that. He hugged them and said, we're gonna get the dirty migrants out. We're gonna get the ching chongs out of the country. We're gonna get the transgenders away from your kids. We're going to get the blacks back in their places. Okay, we're gonna make America's gonna be great again. Okay, and people were like, I like that. They said, really? With a sparkle in their eye, they looked up and they said, really? And he said, really? While reaching around and pulling their wallet out of their back pocket. And and Harris was just like, best I can do is like, best I can do is that I love Republicans. And they're like, yeah, okay, I'm good. They said, you can keep that, big dog. You can keep that, big dog. You know, it's just how it is. That's just really how it is. And so that's why she lost. She knew that she knew that this was going to lead to her having more trouble winning the election. I don't think she thought it was going to make her lose, but she definitely she definitely knew it was going to not help her win the election. She specifically was told this time and time again by her staff. They knew it. She knew it. She didn't care. And so, yeah, she threw the election.
That's why not a specific issue. Is it something she was willing to do? You weren't even feel disingenuous, or
because she felt like she was part of the administration. So why should she look back and cherry pick some things that she would have done differently? Which she was
because you want to win. Because you want to win the election. I don't care. I don't care about your legacy as some dumbass vice president. Nobody cares. Win the election. Win the election. You can work. No, they can't vote you out after you win the election. Then after that, you take Joe Biden. You're like, we did it, Joe. You can get your next. We did it, Joe. Nobody cares about this, dude. She's just thinking about it. It's so selfish. It's so stupid. I don't get it. She actually was, her feelings got in the way of her winning the election. It really did. I thought. And honestly, for those first couple weeks leading up to the DNC, and she picked walls, and we were calling Republicans weird and all that type of, we were making it happen. It was getting so close. I felt like we were making so many good decisions, and then she threw it all away.
Part of it. And she had tremendous loyalty to President Biden.
Oh my gosh.
You know, if we had said, just imagine this.
My ass was really like, who's a Biden fan? Who genuinely likes Biden? Okay. And she got my ass. She said she's hopping and with her hand up, me. Number one Biden fan. I'm flabbergasted. Number one.
I mean, you've been on.
She actually wouldn't separate herself from Joe Biden if her life depended on it. Gun to the back of her head. Somebody said, "Tell me that Joe Biden stinks." She couldn't do it.
Plenty of campaigns. Imagine if we said, well, we would have taken this approach on the border. Imagine the round of stories coming out after that of people saying, well, she never said that in a meeting, or what meeting when she said this, or I remember when she did that. And it wasn't going to give us what we needed because it would.
Yes, it would have. I'm just going to be honest. Nobody cares.
Imagine the round of stories coming out after kids. You've been on plenty of campaigns. Imagine if we said, well, we would have taken this approach on the border. Imagine the round of stories coming out after that of people saying, well, she never said that in a meeting, or what meeting when she said this, or I remember when she did that. And it was.
Who would do what in like the Situation Room or something? Oh, like she says she would do something different on the border. And then some random staffer goes, well, I remember when she was talking to me and then she said Joe Biden was cool. I'm not sure if that's true. There was actually almost no leaking out of her campaign. There was almost no leaking out of her campaign the whole time. They could have made that up. And even if somebody would have been like, I don't know, when did she ever say that? She could just be like, fuck you, I did. Or just ignore it. I'm just going to be honest, kind of nobody cares. If she goes, this is exactly what I would do, and there's no recordings of it, and some random scandal is good. Yes, and honestly, she could have been like, they're fired because they're lying on my name now. They're lying on my name. They're fired. Okay. Or like, I don't even know who you are. Nobody cares. And she could have just keep saying it. Really just keep saying it. It works. It's not just lying isn't I hate to say it. Lying isn't like a Republican specialty. Just Democrats back down and pussyfoot around when it comes to They back down and act like losers when it comes to people calling them out sometimes. And what they need to do is just say a lie. That's kind of meaningless now, if I'm going to be honest with you. And then just say it harder. When somebody calls them out, just say it again harder. What are you going to do? Do you have do you have access to every recording from every single a situation room interview, a situation room a conversation that's ever been had? Of course not. But playing defense, don't play defense, play offense. Be like, they're lying, I would do it differently. Here's how. It's not that hard. Just keep saying it. Oh, what about the round of stories? She needed rounds of stories. Nobody gave like, you were like, man, how are we gonna get back into the news? Dude, being able to go on every single news station and say how you're different than Joe Biden and saying that, and contradicting people who literally believe, who try and come out and call you a liar about it and saying, no, that's not true. And then double, triple, quadruple sextupling down on the fact that you're different than Joe Biden was actually exactly what she needed. I'm no master campaigner, but you know, my ass didn't lose this election. My ass didn't lose an election. My ass didn't lose this election to like to a geriatric obese pedophile. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe this means something. And all I know is that my belief here coincides directly to what her campaign believed on the inside. So maybe this is worth something. It's possible.
Wasn't going to give us what we needed because it wouldn't be a clean break. It would be, days upon days in a limited time window that we had of dealing of who, what, when, where. So the best we could do, and the most that she felt comfortable with, was saying, like, look, vice presidents never break with their presidents. The only time in recent memory—
You would have won if you ran? If I was Joe Biden, I would have won this election. Not by like actually winning, right? But I would have set Harris up to win the election. Okay? My ass would have faked my own death at the hands of Kamala Harris for her to win the election. Like, and I would have had my staff go, I was about to make prices go up again, and she fucking shot me in the back of the head because she cares about the American people. and honestly, and then she would have won. People would have started clapping. Standing ovation with it. Okay, that's what I would have done personally. I would have set her up. I would have said, if she didn't want to do it, I would have done it. I would have gone even harder than Biden. I absolutely would have been like, when I made this horrible decision that you all hate, I literally thought something completely different. She literally thought something completely different. And now I realize that she was literally always right. And I should have always listened to her. I didn't always listen to her. Once again, I put her in office to disagree with me, so I obviously didn't listen to her constantly, but like I should have, and I realized that she's always right. Take it away. What's that picture? What's that meme where the dude is like he looks confused as he's getting handed like an award? Yeah, he's getting a handshake. Yeah, it would have been this. This from The Office, right? Yeah, it would have been just like this. Let me open this another tab. Yeah, this. It would have been like this. This would have been me, okay, Biden, and this would have been Harris. And I would have been like, when I made the decision to make gas prices go up, she told me the way to make gas prices go down, and I didn't listen to her, and I realized that she was right. And her ass would have been like, huh? And then it's up to her to either call me a liar or go along with it. Listen, if she was just such a loyal dog, okay, then obviously the solution would be to just start making shit up about her, like saving grandmas crossing the street and like saving cats from trees and shit. What is she gonna do? Go against me? She can't. She can't. That's I like sometimes, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures, my man. And this was obviously what needed to be done. It would have been just like this. That's how I would have won the election, okay? If I was Joseph R. Biden Jr.
When Pence broke with Trump after Trump stormed the Capitol. So Biden's not.
They call that the murder exemption. If the president tries to murder you, you can break. Yes.
If you are, you know, ripping up the Constitution, trying to overturn an election, people die, then you can break with your president. But absent that, vice presidents stick by their presidents, and she wasn't willing.
Okay, vice presidents lose. Okay, just win. Like I don't. Thank you. I like hats for the 5. Yes, you said that message before. Did you mean to send that message again? I appreciate you. I'm glad to have you back. Thanks for the $5 super chat. I appreciate you. Yeah, man, just like nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Really, nobody cares. And I'm not sure if they know that nobody cares, but like really nobody cares. I don't think there was a single poll out that showed that people cared. Actually, the exact opposite is what they've been telling us. I haven't seen a poll where anybody really cared.
For whoever the future.
Maybe like rando people getting paid by Jamie Harrison on Twitter care, but like nobody else actually. No actual voter cares.
President vice presidential partnership would be, because it would mean a whole, you know, different set of problems, as if we don't have enough problems in our democracy right now. So unless we were willing to say, you know, Biden said green and she said blue on any particular issue, we're never really going to satisfy that. So
okay. Then Biden said green and she said blue. Yes. Say it. Then say it. You were like, there's a way that we could win with only minimal, with only minimal news fallout of random staffers says they heard a guy who was near the Situation Room who felt like she said something different. And it was like, maybe lose or get the job done. Okay, then just say it. Then just say it. I don't know, man. It's just politics. Just say it. If they want you to say something, just say it. Do you want the voters want you to say something, just say it. And if it's not like completely against like your morals, like I don't know if they wanted her to say like a racial slur or something, like obviously don't do that, but like it's not that bad. We'll be okay.
Focus was, let's look to the future. Let's describe her and her approach to things. Let's use policies, future-looking policies, to demonstrate that difference. But in the end, you know, we've all seen the data. Too many people thought that she'd be a continuation, which on the economy was, you know, the incumbent killer.
Quentin, in the post-election analysis, there's been a ton of focus on the very ubiquitous trans ad that the Trump campaign spent tens of millions of dollars on. There have been sort of
crazy. King Jar Jar, thanks for the tier 2 subscription. I really appreciate you for that. Thanks for remaining part of the frenzy. Be incredibly pog. Favorite emote out for King Jar. Nice to have you. Imagine getting paid as much as they do and being this bad at politics. I'm not sure if I'm putting the blame on Harris here, right? I don't think these people messed up. These people were doing the best they could with a candidate who wanted to lose. They were doing the best they could with a candidate that wanted to lose. They wanted her to like, or at least they gave her the information that what you were doing was going to lose you the election. She said, well, I love Joe Biden, so we're not separating ourselves from him. And so they were like, okay, we'll do the best we can with that, right? Like they're not gonna just lie. They're not just gonna go like again. They're not gonna go behind her back. It's her campaign. They can't go behind her back to like, you know, make up something new about her campaign, right? They have to like work through her. She said we're not separating ourselves from Biden, and they said, well, Okay, boss. Okay, boss. So, you know, that's just how. There are some people who deserve some blame with how money was spent, though. That's something we'll get to a little later. But thank you, King Jar, for the tier, for the 2. Appreciate you.
2 strains of thought. This one, the sense that
also a genocide, but never mind. I guess
our position on trans-related issues are.
She was better on Gaza earlier in the election, and also while she was vice president, but privately.
Were one of the reasons why we lost, but also real questions about why the campaign decided not to respond to the ad specifically. My understanding from reporting, at least, is that you guys tested a bunch of responses and they didn't work. Just tell me your thinking there and what role you think that ad and those issues actually played in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's important to put everything into context. We've very well established a time frame. And it's honestly a lot shorter than 107 days, but we had 3 core objectives to the paid media. It was to define the vice president. It was to defend her on incoming attacks, and a lot of these attacks have been baked in for the past 3.5 years. While she was the vice president, they were attacking her. She was at negative 20 something on immigration. We got that down to negative 10. Trump had a positive 22-point advantage on the economy. We got that down to 7. And we had to respond to those things. And when you sort of looked at the core issues, aside from the attacks, like trans issues are just at the bottom for voters. The economy.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I mean, it's the same. I've been seeing people say this, and there's some centrist Dems who are like, we need to become more racist and transphobic to win elections. Some of you, I want to talk about this sometime later, but have you been seeing people who are straight up like the supposedly left-wing people who are like, oh, wokeism is the real issue here? Oh, it was wokeism. Harris's campaign was too woke. What you mean is like she was black and a woman, basically. If that's what you mean, because she never made her campaign about her like race or gender or sex really that much. So what you're saying is that just become racist for no reason, or you were just racist and this is a good, become like bigoted for no reason, or you're just bigoted and you think that this is a good way to finally like kind of move that into the democratic zeitgeist, hopefully. No one cares about trans people, so whatever. I mean, like a little bit, yeah. Like if you're getting, if somebody is like today, oh, calling you like, if you're a politician, you're calling you like a trans lover or something. You love trans people. You want to give trans people surgery, trans prisoners surgeries in hospitals that are prisons where you eat dogs and shit like that. Like, whatever. Yeah, that's a whatever situation. Then you hit them with, oh yeah, isn't your best friend Jeffrey Epstein? Like, yeah, there really is a whatever. Yeah, that's a whatever situation. Yes. Like, there's really no reason to even give that the time of day. Like, do you believe that this should be like there should be like a big back and forth on something as stupid as that? I don't. Voters don't. Dems will fight for everyone's healthcare. Yeah, it's just like nobody. Do you think there should have been like it should have been dropping ads about that issue? Donald Trump says that I'm going to transgender your boys at school. Donald Trump says that when your young boy goes to school, he'll stay there for multiple days while we transgender his pee-pee to Fagoober. And then they'll come back from school as girl because I stole their penis. This is wrong. And we love trans people. Like, you think that should be like you think they should spend money on that? Or they should have spent money on that in the campaign? I don't. I don't. If like the if like when Donald Trump drops an ad saying that when Kamala Harris gets into office, she'll send a black to your house to fucking bash your head in if they look back through your Twitter history and you say and you don't use the term black people with a capital B, capital P, I don't think that they should have made an ad like defending themselves about that. In my opinion. What do you guys chat? What do you guys think? I don't that doesn't seem very, I don't know, just, like obviously it's serious in the sense of like being antagonistic towards like minority groups, but like when it comes to a campaign and like spending money on shit that matters, like no. Chat, what? Yeah, tell me, chat. What do you guys think? Am I wrong here? That I think that's a damn who cares type situation. Like any response should be coupled with like you're crazy. You're an insane person. I like if they responded to that with anything, it should have been like, look at grandpa's dementia acting up again. And that honestly would be like the max of it.
Inflation, crime, immigration are the top issues. They were also some of the issues that she was getting attacked on. And to the element of sort of defining her and doing it in a way that sort of fit within what you're trying to do, there's a direct approach that you can take to anything, and then there is an approach that you can take that accomplishes two of the three objectives. A lot of the stuff that we did, such as talking about her prosecutorial background, and then saying that she went after transnational gangs, cartels, it was to push back pseudoli on the immigration attacks that were coming at her, as well as credentialing her background on things that were absent and standalone of the Biden administration. We did a lot of stuff about her record as AG, her record as a prosecutor, not as vice president, because it also allowed her to stand alone separate from the Biden administration. On the trans attack, obviously it was a very effective ad at the end. I ultimately don't believe that it was about the issue of trans. I think that it made her seem out of touch. And it was sort of a pseudo-economic ad underneath it, because he was saying you're going to pay for it with taxpayer money. And it was in her own words. And that's something. But we tested a ton of responses to this, direct responses, and none of them ever tested as well as basically her, talking about what she would do, to Jen's point, the future, the type of president that she would be. There were elements of it where we did try to say, and we put ads on television of her saying, you've seen all the negative attacks against me, and try to bottle it up, because I also think you have to think about the entire sentiment when you're running a paid campaign. And the trans ad, I think because of the content, a lot of people felt like it was much bigger than what it was. But to put that into context,
Yeah, so here's the thing. Here's my take on it. I've seen people talk about this type of stuff before. They just used trans people are like the trans people are the new hotness when it comes to hated minority. Okay. And so like conservatives have done a good job when it comes to blowing up trans people to meaning like wokeness, to meaning like caring about social issues and like the color of bathroom, bathroom sign colors, like bathroom like symbol colors, than like whether or not the economy is good. That's what is really tying. This is like an economic thing. They're basically saying that in all those ads, they were just saying that Kamala Harris cares about social issues more than economic issues. Silly woman. And that's basically it, right? And combating that wasn't to get in the mud and play that same game. It was to be like, I care about economic issues, right? It'd be like an economic focused, different from Joe Biden campaign. And that obviously seemed like to do pretty well. Most people still do not vote about trans people or how trans people are in society. Republicans even know that, and they use it as a springboard to talk about how Democrats are out of touch when it comes to social issues, but it's actually economic issues, because they want to use your money they want to use government money to make all the frogs gay or something. That's the real issue here. And so every time you see a question about this, it's never trans people specifically, like asking people plainly just about trans people. All these are always tied up into all of this is always tied up into trans and social issues, or trans and like other trans and abortion, or other like societal issues, and then opposed to not like taxes or tariffs or like foreign policy. It's just economics, right? People say, do you want your people, like the polls are like, do you think your politicians should care more about transgender people shitting in the bathroom or whether or not the economy is falling apart? And they're like, oh, obviously economy falling apart. And people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't believe like the attacks on transgender people are working. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, I don't know, like we got to read these polls for like more than 10 seconds. You got to like think a little bit deeper about how your average person's going to read that shit. But like, I don't know. And the fact that the polls are even coming out, like they're even asking questions like that is really begging the question to begin with. And you're not really getting a good representative view of how people even view these issues to begin with. Wokeness to them, they've been able to accurately point it down with accuracy to a single point, which is the idea that they want to give across to people is that you spend money in like ways that don't matter compared to make economy run good, make gas price down, make egg cost less. And that's what all that means. That's it really. But yeah. Kringe. There was some other stuff that I wanted to look at though. There's some other stuff that I want to look at though today. My tablet has stopped working. My tablito has stopped working. Tablito is tablet in Spanish. If you didn't know. Teaching you something new today. Ain't that right, chat? Because I use it as like a stream deck and it's not working right now. I don't know why. Super weird. Yeah, tablet is not responding. Hate to see it. Means low tablet. I like it. I like it. Also, chat, I hope you like the text-to-speech voice because I'm going to be using it for some of these longer articles that we're going to be going through today. What do you guys think? Sometimes this is what I do in my spare time when I'm, well, I can't take spare time. It's when I'm like reading stuff for work. It's when I'm reading stuff for you guys where I just like, I load the article up in the text-to-speech and then we just run it. And then I listen to it while reading it. Your first mistake was buying Apple? You idiot. It's a Samsung. And it's not the app, it's not the tablet it's not the tablito that's not working. It's the app. It's the Streamlabs app that's not working. It's not connecting to my computer for some reason. Not the tablito. What's up, Asadas John? Nice to see you. The tablet is under martial law now. She's Korean? Thank you, I Like Cats, for the $5 gifted. $5 super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you for the 5 super chat. Thank you for this. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yo, chat. Yo, when we play Marvel Rivals tonight, I'm thinking of picking up Spider-Man. I think it's time to give Spider-Man a try. We need to do some web swinging training and then hopping into some games to try to see if we can go crazy on Spooderman. Because I think I'm not gonna say I won when it came to Iron Fist. But when you go 15-0 in a game, I want to try all the characters. And I want to try a character until like I feel like I'm good enough to be able to pick them up and, you know, not completely just shit the bed. And it honestly, it seems when I go 15-0 in a game, it seems like I'm good enough to switch to another character, I think. Fuck Iron Fist, bro. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. 15-0 was just insane. So up next is Spider-Man, and I want to be able to understand how Spider-Man, you know, Spider-Mans, before I move on to another character. Spidey and Venom always drew my eye. Okay, give it a look. Dude, I don't know. Iron Fist was so insane. It was so funny. Like, he's just so overtuned. he's just so overtuned in like the craziest way, really. Like having that rapid punch, like, for one, his basics do like crazy damage. Dragon's Guard does crazy damage and blocks some attacks for like no reason, right? And he has a self heal. And when he uses his like attack, and when he gets a kill, he gets like health back. And not only does he get health back, it doesn't just like cap out. If he gets health back and he's at full health, or the extra health over his full health gets turned into a shield on top of that. And then like when he uses his just normal basic attacks, it reduces the cooldown of his like most damaging ability, the Dragon's Guard, again, right? And then it's just like, what are you talking about? And I thought it was just going to be a little bit of like cooldown reduction. No, it turns a 10-second cooldown into a 2-second cooldown. As long as you're hitting somebody, it makes no sense. And so he doesn't have cooldowns. He doesn't have cooldowns. One of his attacks is literally just holding down the left click button. He can heal himself and disengage. He jumps better than Spider-Man, who has a double jump. He has a triple jump somehow. He can run on walls. What? He's unfair. He's unfair. I was just punching the shit out of people and I'm like, is this fair? Is this fair? Is this how this game works? He's too broken for the broken characters. I think every character is kind of broken, but everyone is unfair, but some are more unfair, but some are unfair in unfair ways. And Iron Fist, he's definitely one of them. Like, you would expect all that like burst damage to be coupled with poor mobility, but he's more mobile than most of the characters in the game. He's he has more damage than like most of the characters in the game. He has self-healing as well. Basically no strings attached. He just needs to, disengage for like 5 seconds and he can self-heal. It just makes no sense. He's a broken ass character. Broke hen. Jeff is pretty fun though. He's cute. Anyways. All right. Give me some text to speech. Let's burn through some articles, chat. This political article was one that I had loaded up after the election. Dems rage against Biden's arrogance after Harris lost. Yo, that's literally me. OMG. Where's my text-to-speech? You.
Democrats are directing their rage over losing the presidential race at Joe Biden, who they blame for setting up Kamala Harris for failure by not dropping out sooner.
Real.
They say his advancing age, questions over his mental acuity, and deep unpopularity put Democrats at a sharp disadvantage. They are livid that they were forced to embrace a candidate who voters had made clear they did not want, and then stayed in the race long after it was clear he couldn't win. He shouldn't have run, said Jim Manley, a top aide to former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. This is no time to pull punches or be concerned about anyone's feelings. He and his staff have done an enormous amount of damage to this country. According to interviews with nearly a dozen officials and party operatives, Biden squandered valuable months only to end in disaster on the debate stage. And by the time he decided to pass the torch, he had saddled Harris with too many challenges and far too little time to build a winning case for herself.
Okay, but like, I felt that same way. It's really nice to be vindicated by rando DNC insiders. Like, Biden was literally not doing anything the first couple months of 2024. Do you guys remember that? All the way up until April, he just wasn't doing anything. Like, he wasn't campaigning. He just wasn't. He wasn't out there. He wasn't out there campaigning. He wasn't like on the ground or anything. He wasn't really running that many ads all the way up until April. And then his campaign slowly started to ramp up. But by then it was already too late. And Trump had like a pretty good lead on him. Trump has been leading like all year, literally all year in 2024, all year. There was not a single time when Joe Biden had a substantial lead for like more than a week. Actually, I think more than a couple days, if I remember correctly. If you look back through the polling, it was bad. It was kind of disastrous, and we weren't even going over the election then. Usually, we start going over elections, kind of like really getting into like the election swing. July, right? June, around there, June, July. But man, that doesn't mean that he should start then too. I thought old people were like the early birds, man. Like, what was happening in there, man? What the heck?
The fresh anger at Biden came as Democrats devolved into a round of recriminations following Tuesday's decisive loss to Donald Trump, with officials struggling to explain why a majority of the electorate voted Republican for the first time in 20 years. Democratic leaders had hoped Harris could separate herself from Biden's deficiencies after taking over the nomination with just 107 days to the election. The candidate switch in July generated a fresh surge of enthusiasm with voters and appeared to instantly reset the race, bolstering the theory that she could eke out a win against an opponent as divisive as Trump. But any gains Harris...
She was doing really well. She was polling better than she was at the end of the election, at the beginning of the election. People were excited before she started, not separating herself from Biden and everything, and before she started spending her money worse. She was doing pretty well. Things were going pretty well. The her messaging was pretty hard hitting. I'm gonna be honest. She kind of came out swinging. She really did. But then after the DNC, she went into like Republican recruitment mode, and that's where it really fell apart. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
But any gains Harris made during her abridged campaign were swamped on Tuesday by the enduring backlash against the Biden administration over inflation and cost of living concerns. And a president who proved incapable of selling the electorate on his accomplishments and whose apparent overconfidence kept him in the campaign despite growing signs that he wasn't up for the job. She ran an extraordinary campaign with a very tough hand that was handed to her, Mark Longabaugh, a Democratic strategist and former advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders, IVT, said of Harris. The truth of the matter is, Biden should have stepped aside earlier and let the party put together a longer game plan. The loss, said supporters and critics alike, will put a lasting dent in a legacy that...
They're not even right there. They're on the right track, but they're not even right there. Biden should have never ran for a second term. It never, like, the second he won the election, it should have been like, okay, how are we going to make sure someone else wins in 2024? That's what should have happened. That's what should have happened. There should have been no, oh, he drops out sooner. He shouldn't have dropped out. Because he never should have gotten in. He should have never been in the game. You won 2020. That was your thing. That was what people wanted you to do. Good job. Get out of here. Scram. Good work. Now go on, get. With the broom, like slamming the broom on the ground. Go on, get. Leave. And there should have been something else to happen. Right? Like, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Harris would have won. Harris would have won in 2024. Well, when it comes to the nomination, Harris was polling better than literally everybody else by like a wide margin. in 2024. Really wide margin in 2024 leading up to the DNC. And with all the enthusiasm that she got as she hopped in, dude, nobody else in the Democratic Party was going to be able to even compete with the type of waves that she was making. They were going to drown. And so, yeah, she was going to win. We know that. Most voters wanted her to win. We know that as well. But getting her in a position to be able to win, and like a bunch more decisions that are made on, by her, and firing a lot of those like top Biden advisors at the top of her campaign, my bad, not even having to put them in, not even having to need to fire them because they never should have been there in the first place. They should have just, rolled off into the sunset with Biden after finally completing his like 85-year plan of like winning the presidency. Shouldn't have even been in this situation.
The loss, said supporters and critics alike, will put a lasting dent in a legacy that Biden built steadily over more than a half-century in politics. Culminating in what he envisioned would be a resounding defeat of Trump and his divisive brand of politics. Instead, Biden's presidency will now be inextricably linked with Trump's return to the Oval Office, and his legislative accomplishments risk getting undercut by his successor. It's in part a consequence, some Democrats concluded, of Biden letting pride and ego cloud the sharp political judgment that had aided his long ascent to the White House. There was a Biden weariness. James Zogby, a 3-decade veteran of the Democratic National Committee, said of the shift among
strong. I don't know if Biden has like the long history of strong political, like strong, like crazy political acumen. He's made some good decisions in his time, I will say, but like Biden being some like grand master of politics, I don't know. He doesn't hold a candle to Pelosi. And I have some very strong dislikes of Madam former Speaker of the House. But like, good Lord, Pelosi, when it's time to cook, Pelosi's in the oven. Pelosi is like, you know what? If there was like a non-evil Pelosi, if there was like good Pelosi, if there was like progressive Pelosi, I feel like, or even if like Harris like had a little Pelosi in her, because Pelosi's got that dog in her. If she had a little Pelosi in her, I think the likelihood of her winning the election would have gone up dramatically, honestly, because man, when it's time, Pelosi does not care about like feelings or alliances. When it's time to get shit done, she gets it done. If she's got to kill somebody, she will, she'll show up at their funeral. I mean, that's what she literally did to Biden. She killed Biden and then showed up to the DNC with a "We Love Joe" sign. I mean, like, how much more ruthless can you get? She's a demon in the streets. So like, I don't know, man. Like, if she had that dog in her, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people could learn something from Pelosi. I know a lot of people got really angry at AOC when it came to her like kind of getting close to Pelosi a little bit. But I'm just gonna be honest. No matter what you think of Pelosi, like, yeah, she's made some bad decisions, and yeah, she's not, and yeah, she tried her darndest to crush progressives back in 2018 and like most of her career as well, when it didn't suit her needs. But like, that's all it really matters, is whether or not it suits her needs. Like, everything and everyone is disposable. And honestly, when it comes to politics, as long as you're working for a cause that I care about, like, I don't care. Biden should be disposable. Like, all he is to make sure that a Republican isn't in office. Sorry. Like, if we can take anything from Pelosi, it's definitely that. Kill. Know your role. Yeah, that's true. Know your role. When it's time to die, lay down and die. Some of you will die, but that's a sacrifice she's willing to make. And honestly, when it comes to politics, that's what we need. That's what we need. I hate to say it, but sometimes that's absolutely what we need. All that matters now is winning the game. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you can't do anything when you ain't got nothing.
There was a Biden weariness, James Zogby, a 3-decade veteran of the Democratic National Committee, said of the shift among the electorate in recent years. And he hung on too long.
Little hanger on. Biden on Wednesday afternoon phoned Trump to congratulate him on the victory and praised Harris in a statement. He shouldn't have done that. Why don't phone Trump? Try to overthrow the government, dude. Why should I care? the only reason that I care about this is because I've seen what Donald Trump has done. I've read his statements. I've looked at his actions, and I care. But if you knew, dude, can you imagine being somebody who only knows about what Donald Trump did on January 6th through the Democrats? And I'm not talking about somebody who watched the damn January 6th hearings, because we know nobody did. Even though we should have, we know nobody did. Okay? As a country. So if this is the case, can you even imagine being oh man, I wonder what this guy did? And they treat him they treat him like it's just all fun and games, like they were just playing hide and seek, and he happened to win. You wouldn't. Of course, you would feel the same way about Trump. Of course, you would think oh man, maybe it really wasn't that bad after all. They're not treating it like it was that bad. Under extraordinary circumstances, she stepped up and led a historic campaign. I hate you. Joe Biden, Aries. Oh, I'm yelling at the sky, Aries. I hate you, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, I hate you. You piece, you shit of peace. He said, she worked so hard under extraordinary circumstances. Who put her in those extraordinary circumstances, you old geezer? I'm losing my mind. Under extraordinary circumstances, she led a historic campaign. Why have you forsaken me? Oh, I'm losing my mind. Man, that was a really hard campaign. Who could have seen that one coming? Oh man, I'm losing my mind here, dude.
Inside a somber White House, aides still processing the results bristled at the second guessing of Biden's decision to run for re-election.
Oh yeah, here comes the idiots.
Record he'd racked up in his first 2 years in better than expected midterm results that suggested Democrats had political momentum. There were similarly few immediate regrets over Biden's decision to drop out and endorse Harris, short-circuiting the potential for a messy fight to replace him. Instead, aides and allies contended, Tuesday's defeat was so comprehensive it's unclear any Democrat could have won under such circumstances. The anti-incumbency anger ignited by inflation that had swept across Europe in recent years finally arrived in the U.S. and as working-class voters shifted decisively toward Trump. They expressed doubt Harris could have cobbled together a workable coalition even if she'd had more time to campaign. People, for whatever reason, feel it was better 4 years ago, and I don't think we could fight that, said one longtime Democratic operative. Pointing to the growing percentage of Latinos and black voters who flipped to Trump. We just have a bad brand right now. Marty Walsh, Biden's former labor secretary, acknowledged in an interview that the administration's messaging too often just didn't resonate with people. But he warned that those shortcomings were not tied to Biden or any other candidate.
Oh,
rather,
no.
the party as a whole hasn't figured out how to effectively reach and educate voters.
Yo, even though everybody doesn't like Biden, and one of the big reasons is because he's Joe Biden, it obviously has nothing to do with Joe Biden. You need to be fired. You shouldn't have a job in DC. Go home. We don't want you here. What are you doing here? This is the advising that my Democrats are getting, and we wonder why this shit keeps happening. This is the type of advice that Democrats go and write down and write that down, and we wonder why this keeps happening. I'm losing it. I've completely lost it. I hate the Democrats, man. Oh, I'm not a fan. No, I'm not a big fan of the government. I'm not a big fan of the government. I'm not a big fan of the government. We need to effectively educate voters, man. Bro. And this, so like, yes, across the entire world, incumbent parties were getting clapped because of people's dismay over the situation of the world, of the social economic state of the world after after COVID. Yes, 100%. Yes, 100%. That's the case. Okay. Yes, that is a large reason, maybe even like the big reason for why incumbent parties are losing and why the Dems really lost this time. But if we take that and understand that not always, though, I mean, we can just look south of the border where AMLO stepped down from the presidency as the president of Mexico, and now like Claudia Sheinbaum like crushed in the entire country and now has like the mandate of heaven in Mexico. Like there is something about how some people won and some people lost. And what it is that, you know, it's the economy, stupid. When governments are able to provide for their people, their incumbents win, right? When they're not, they lose. In Mexico, even considering pre-COVID, Mexico was better. Your average Mexican is better now than they were 4 years ago. It's true, they are. And in some ways, your average American is as well, but with deregulated businesses hiking up prices, with the Democrats not being able to make good on a lot of their promises, with student loans not being taken care of, with the with the child credit not going into effect, with not being able to help feed kids who are outside of school during the summertime while families still struggle, with the rent freeze becoming like getting undone, with the student loan freeze getting undone, with all of these issues with the economy at the moment. Yeah, people are absolutely getting squeezed pretty bad. And yeah, not everybody is doing as bad, but like a lot of the people who are doing a whole lot better now are people who are not doing a whole lot better now are people who were not really doing that bad to begin with. They were rich, like Elon Musk and all these other massive multi-billion-dollar companies. Those people made a whole lot of money. The stratification between the poorest and richest among us have only gotten worse. The wealth disparity in this country has only gotten worse. And in countries where it's been moving in the opposite direction, guess what? Their incumbents didn't lose, they won. And it's not magic. It's not like their countries are just simply so much different than ours. When you make people's lives better, usually they want to vote for you again. There's still that dick in El Salvador. Like, fuck, what's his name? The like little mini dictator in El Salvador. I completely forgot his name. But like all like the fascism that, yeah, Burkle. Yeah. Or my bad, Bukel. Yeah. For all the like fascism that Bukel brought to El Salvador, him actually locking up all like a lot of those gangs has actually made their lives worse. Has actually made like your average El Salvadorian's life better in that regard. And that was something that they really care about. Now they did sell their future for the present, but that's a sacrifice unfortunately El Salvadorians are willing to make at the moment. And that also has a lot to do with, you know, it also has a lot to do with their the more left-wing opposing party in the country as well, not being able to get stuff done to make people's lives better as well. When left-wing parties and like when lib parties aren't able to make good on their promises, aren't able to like get people's lives better, then they turn to the fascists who are like, oh man, it's them. They point to a zeitgeist, they point to a minority group, and they go, it's their problem, and then they come and seize power. We talk about this so much. Like, yes, Donald Trump is a totalitarian, he's an authoritarian, yes, he is fascist, but like we don't talk about it too much, but like power to dictators is usually given willingly. It is. It's usually given willingly. When in situations like this, it's not, they don't always come into power and just like steal it from the people and steal it from the government in some like violent uprising like this. A lot of times it's given willingly. Hitler came into power willingly. There was no Nazi revolution in the country to overthrow the Weimar. He was given power willingly. He didn't take it. It was given to him. Trump came into power willingly. It was given to him by the Biden administration. Text to speech, go.
Rather, the party as a whole hasn't figured out how to effectively reach and educate voters.
What the hell? Text to speech, go.
It's not a pointing fingers day. It's a reflection day, he said. Much as she did during the campaign, perhaps to her detriment, Harris...
It definitely should be a pointing fingers day, I will say. The Dems should definitely 100% be pointing fingers at people. 100%. Like, people got to get fired. Heads got to roll. People have to never work in DC ever again. Yes.
Has also declined to criticize Biden in public or private, telling Confidence that she gave it her best. But that it ultimately wasn't enough, according to a person familiar with the matter who was granted... Much as she did during the campaign, perhaps to her detriment, Harris has also declined to criticize Biden in public or private, telling Confidence that she gave it her best.
That's what really gets me. So some people were like, when I said that like Harris actually threw the election because she loves Joe Biden, this is what gets me, okay? It's not just like a public facing thing. If she was like a little duplicitous about this, right, and was doing it for some other reason, then we would see in private she would have way more things to say about Biden, but she doesn't. She actually loves, we love Joe. She loves Biden. She loves Biden. She didn't want to separate herself from Biden because she loves Biden, dude. Like she can't. She loves Joe Biden, man. This shit, it means something to her. This Biden administration means something to her. She will not criticize Joe Biden no matter what, even if it means Donald Trump getting back into the election, and that's getting back into the Oval Office, and that's a sacrifice that she's willing to make. Some of you will die, but that's a sacrifice I am willing to make. We love Joe, don't we, folks? Her loyalty should only be towards keeping Republicans out of office. And that's it. I want Democrats' loyalty to be towards keeping Republicans out of office. And you do that by improving people's lives and not being stupid.
Much as she did during the campaign, perhaps to her detriment, Harris has also declined to criticize Biden in public or private, telling Confidence that she gave it her best. But that it ultimately wasn't enough, according to a person familiar with the matter who was granted anonymity to describe the conversations. Still, Biden has become a central target in the intensifying debate among Democrats over what went wrong. Several Democrats pointed to the administration's handling of a spike in inflation as a key misstep. The White House initially dismissed it as a temporary phenomenon, and it took months for Biden to grasp the impact it was having on the electorate. The White House initially dismissed it as a... Several Democrats pointed to the administration's handling of a spike in inflation as a key misstep. The White House initially dismissed it as a temporary phenomenon, and it took months for Biden to grasp the impact it was having on the electorate.
Oh no, he's actually stupid. Oh no, he's actually stupid. It took Biden months to realize that inflation was an issue. Oh, these are my Democrats, man. We're so cooked. We never would have won. Honestly, that makes me feel a little better in my heart as well. Knowing that the Democratic leadership is so stupid and so bad that we actually never had a chance. You know, it's like it takes some responsibility off of us. You know, it's like it's a little bit of freedom. Oh, it's a little bit of freedom. It feels a little good. I can't lie. Oh wow. Oh, that is really amazing. Ashrak, how do you feel about the implosion on the online left? There's an implosion on the online left. Is that true? I feel that you're the only chill guy on the left. Like, I feel like you're the only chill guy left. Everyone is just degenerates or grifting. What does degenerates mean? What's that supposed to mean? I don't think there's many people. Okay, so the one thing we got to get clear. For one, you know, thank you for being here. Two, I don't like the word grifting because nobody uses it correctly. I don't think almost anybody is grifting on the left, really. There's crazy people, yeah, who consider themselves left wing, but I don't think there's many people grifting. If you just mean that they're like wrong on stuff, I mean, sure, okay. And degenerate, I'm not sure what that means either. In this context, I mean, you'll have to just enlighten me what you mean by that. But you know, appreciate you being here. Only grifters are TYT. No, I don't think TYT's grifters either. When they say crazy shit, they believe it. I have full faith that when Anna says that she genuinely thought that like every Trump supporter would drink baby's blood if given the opportunity to, until she had a neighbor who was a Republican but didn't try to kill her the instant she turned her back to him. And that changed her entire political philosophy about the world. I believe it. I hate to say it, but I genuinely believe it. I don't believe that she's like grifting. No, I think she's just simply that simple. Some people are really just that simple. And I know you don't want to believe it. A lot of us don't want to believe that some people are that simple. Like some people would think something like that and genuinely like say it with their whole chest and like that goes through their head. But there's a lot of people who are just actually that simple. Yeah. There are a lot of people who made it to Klan rallies because they had a friend who was nice to them. They had somebody who went to the same store as them who was a nice guy. I'm telling you, they're really simply that simple. A lot of people are just that simple. We talking about politics? We're talking about anything under the sun, friendo. We're talking about current events. Overzealous enthusiast? Yes. Yes. She genuinely thinks all leftists do is say everyone is a Nazi instead of criticism. Genuinely? Yes. If you sit in a conversation with some of these people privately, if you just have a conversation with some of these people, you'll come to understand that some of these people, I know like to a lot of people, they really don't want to believe that people are, once again, you don't want to believe that some people are just that simple of humans, but like, there are a lot of people when you like crack open the hood, there's like a hamster on a wheel. There's a hamster on a wheel, like charging up a flickering light bulb. And that's it. That's it. That's really it. And so it's hard for me to like, I said it on Twitter before. I was like, I don't even know how to really respond to this type of stuff because sometimes like, what is there to say? What is there to say? Like, I don't know. It's just like some people are just simply kind of divorced from reality. Some people just believe crazy things. Some people are just dug into their framework so wild they just, you know, they're gasping for air because their head's so far up their own ass. It's just some people are actually like that. Not everybody is turns off the camera and starts rubbing their hands together and going to their Google Sense account to see how much money they made this week. A lot of people are just that simple, yeah. Anecdotally, but I talked to my brother's GF. She was worried about migrant crime. She is Black Latino with family who've been deported, but that is her number one issue. People are just simple. Yeah. Well, not only simple is that they can be, you know, they can be victims of propaganda as well. Like, a lot of people just don't get how fastidious and insidious Republicans dogma on immigrants has been. They have been beating on this drum for damn near 10 years completely, right? Solely. They've been working on this for a decade, the whole immigrant thing. A decade. And yeah, when you have the media the covering every stolen lollipop from baby crime ever, and everybody, and you have a country that genuinely thinks every single year the crime is always going up. So at this point we would have like infinite crime if it was like the reality. But if you ask them every year, more Americans think crime is going up, even though it's been moving in the opposite direction for like 40 years. Yeah, you get people believing stuff like that. You get people who genuinely believe that the like Juanito's Tacos truck is harboring illegal migrants who go out into the streets and eat people's dogs and shit. Yeah. Yeah. When half of when half of a political party takes up neo-Nazi talking points about minorities in the country, yeah, a lot of people start believing it. A lot of good meaning people even start believing it. Real talk, I think you invest too personally into them. Who, me? Or what? Destiny having sex with everybody, Vosh's horse folder. Wait, let me read this real quick. Well, I mean, like, I don't know if you don't, I mean, if you don't like those guys, I mean, there's always like, you can go back to basics. There's still the Humanist Report. There's David Dole. There's Pacman. There's Secular Talk. I mean, you don't I'm guessing it seemed like you watch a lot of streamers and stuff. Like you should probably check those guys out if that's something that you really worry about. I think. I take in like a large amount of information from a large amount of people. So I would say it's worth trying that out if a lot of streamers aren't your deal. Also, Midas Touch Network. You'll never hear a peep out of them. Oh, also, I mean, check out Democracy Now! And, you know, Status Coup and stuff like that. Like, you know, there's always them. Majority Report. Midas Touch. If you're like a resist lib, then yeah, Midas Touch is like, you know, it's like shaking a bag of dog treats. Yeah. If you're like somebody who likes watching Rachel Maddow, but you also like to get in the mud a little bit more with like the YouTube side, then yeah, Midas Touch is absolutely there. FD, I don't think FD does this type of stuff. I don't think, like, sure, yes, you can watch him if you want. FD is more like a cultural type commentator. He's I don't think he covers nearly the type of stuff that we do. Completely, but very, very much different, in my opinion. But I've never really watched his content too much, so I could be wrong. You're just being broad? Okay. I had a feeling. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's like, he makes videos on like why Kendrick hates Drake and other stuff like that. You know, some other online stuff about you know, he was on his red pill kick and everything. They're happy. I'm happy. I'm happy about that. Bird noises. Yeah, actively search for it now. I think you're sure it's just not that, it used to be really new to you and now it's just not. I mean, there's more boys. Who are those DNC white boys? The new crop of DNC white boys who who that guy who shot Osama bin Laden said would be like they would be his concubines if they lived in like ancient Rome or something. He would come back from war and come throttle his bath boys and they would be them. Remember that guy? Yeah, so those are those like DNC white boys who just popped up. There's a couple of those guys. There's a couple of those guys running around. I don't know, you might like them. Yeah, it's like more cultural stuff, yeah. Different.
The White House initially.
It's much different for me because I don't imbibe in culture. Yeah, I don't imbibe in culture very much. I really don't. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, I don't know. It's just not, I don't know. It's just not super interesting to me, which is, I know much different than a normal person, but I guess that's why I'm able to do this and normal people don't. Because this shit's, because I don't know. I don't think I've ever listened to it. I know this is going to sound insane, but I don't think I've ever listened to an entire playlist of any artist in my entire life. I don't think I've ever done it. Like listen to every song, like beginning to end in an entire playlist. I've never done it once in my entire life. And I think that just makes me real different from like other people. And so I cannot, even when it's something really big, I just don't spend a lot of time covering the like cultural stuff because like, man, I can't do it. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I don't. No albums? I've never listened to an entire album in my entire life. No. Yeah, you seem tapped out of culture for some reason. I've been tapped out my whole life. I don't know. It's just not. I know it's weird, but culture has just never really been interesting to me. Well, I can't say that it's never been interesting. My bad. Let me rephrase that. Culture just never really drew me into like culture like that is like the pop culture has just never really drew me into like be something that I spend a lot of time. I don't want to say investigate. See, now it's so weird. I'm explaining it weird, even just like being like imbibed in. I don't fuck with culture. I know how it sounds, but I hate to say it, but it's true. I just don't fuck with culture. I know, but like, yeah, I just don't. You're not a base Marvel chat? My dad is. He collected Marvel comics back when he was younger. We have like a whole stack of like Marvel and DNC comics, like 6 feet high, multiple stacks like that. Yeah, he was big. He was big in the culture. Yeah. Did I say DNC comics? DC comics. Sorry. See, look at me. I can't even get out of the politic dweeb framework. I can't even escape. DNC comics. That's funny. Yeah, he's like Marvel and DC comics. Like stacked to the damn ceiling. I'm surprised you never got into comics then. Like I've read some comics. Like I've read some Flash comics. I've read some like Batman comics. I've read some I've read some like Green Lantern comics. You know, I've read some, but I've never like read a whole comic series in my entire life. No. I'm sorry. I actually only finished my first manga really this year, and it was Jujutsu Kaisen. It was the first one I've ever finished. It was the first like piece of media like that I have ever finished. I don't watch movies. I don't listen to music. I don't really like movies, no. I only watched Into the Spider-Verse because my girlfriend made me. Didn't you finish Mob Psycho? No, I never finished Mob Psycho, no. I watched season 1 of Mob Psycho and I was like, that's cool. So what do you do in your free time? When I'm in the swing of like, you know, content, I'd spend 2 hours in the morning reading the news of the day. And then I kind of, when it's warm out, I go outside and I lay on the trampoline and I rest there while I listen to like some people play like games or stuff like that. Recently I've been listening to in-depth scientific research videos about like the best about like what healthy what a healthy aquarium environment for coral are, because I'm trying to keep coral. Sometimes I just stare at the ceiling. Sometimes I read other stuff, you know. Sometimes I go to like, I have hobbies. I skateboard, I do photography, I do fish keeping. I do fish keeping. Like you can see, like there's my first ever saltwater aquarium behind me. You can even see my clownfish, right? You know, I've started reading some manga, but that's not all manga. That's also books for work as well. There, and like books just to like, you know, learn, right? You know, I look up stuff for work. I stream. I hang out with my girlfriend. I go to bed. I don't know. I know it sounds weird, but like it's the stuff that I do in my normal day takes up a lot of time in the day. Let Coral go. She's a nice girl. I did let her go. She's taking care of Melissa today. They're gonna hang out. They're gonna go shopping today. It doesn't sound all that weird personally. Yeah, I know it's not, I've never considered myself weird, and I've never considered myself like, I know I'm tapped out of politics, but it's not like I can't hold a conversation with somebody. You know, I'm not, without mentioning politics. I do it constantly all the time, actually. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, women do be shopping. Yeah, and I'm happy for them. I want them to go shopping. Women love it. Daycare. No, it sounds like you pack your day with meaningful activities. I don't even want to call it meaningful activities either, because it makes it sound like what other people are doing in their lives isn't meaningful. And like art and culture is very meaningful to people. I really appreciate that. I think that's really cool. My life would be worse without like art and culture in it, you know? I mean, sometimes I mean, you see all this like art behind me. This is because I find like indie artists and I like to buy from them from time to time when I have the cash, when I have the spare cash laying around, right? So I'm just, I don't know, when it comes to, you know, art, music, sports, movies, you know, all just the stuff that I think, just the stuff that normal people really imbibe in is just not what I imbibe in as much, right? Living his best life. Like, if you were wondering what I was doing for most of the time while I wasn't streaming, it was, you know, reading, keeping up with a decent amount of stuff for work here, so I'm not completely out of the loop, because I don't want to be completely out of the loop. Working on my fish tanks, you know, I was doing a little bit of reading. I'm finishing up, like I finished up JJK, right? I did read some of that. Any fish updates? I have some coral updates. Like, I mean, I can show you. Well, we take a little break here. Just a tiny break from what we were doing. Let's see. For some of you who don't follow me on the Bird app, you can take a look at this of what So you can see this behind me, but obviously it's very hard to tell what's actually going on in there. So here's like a closer pick. I got an orange filter. So when the blue light in there is pretty overwhelming, and the camera just blows out and it's crazy looking. But once you get an orange filter on, you can kind of see more like what the tank actually looks like to me with my own eyes. It's closer, it's not exact, right? But so here's some pictures of what it actually looks like in real life, right? So this is a hardscape. This is a rockscape that I made myself. This is my Bengai cardinal fish. It's a type of saltwater fish. This is a saltwater aquarium, right? So one of my fish, this is my blood red fire cleaner shrimp, right? So if you ever watched Finding Nemo and there was Jacques, that cleaner shrimp, that's another type of cleaner shrimp. This guy is similar, but he's red, right? So there is that. Here's a closer look at some of my coral frags, right? This is a acan, or micromusa is his real name. There's a mushroom coral. There's a zoanthid. These are all of these here are zoanthids. This is this is a blastomusa. So this is a micromusa. This is a blastomusa. These two are also micromusa, or acan lord. You'll hear people call them both. They taxonomically they used to be classified as acan lord or Lord Hoensis. So acan lord was short for Lord Hoensis, but acan lord just sounds better, right? But they got their names changed from that to micromusa. And so this is a blastomusa, and this is my Bengai cardinal. A little closer look from him, the fire shrimp, and this is my Hector's goby. This is my little goby friendy. Glitchmaster, thank you so much for the 36 months in a row remaining a part of the frenzy and being incredibly pumped. Thank you so much for the 36. Appreciate you. Just saying we love our degenerates around these parts, partner. Appreciate you. But yeah, I feel you. Will your fish ever have to escape through the filter? Oh no, my fishies got sucked into the filter. No, thankfully. I have a filter guard, so thankfully they won't. Also down here, you might not have noticed him, but this is my fighting conch. Right down here, this is my magic fighting conch. There he is. You can see his two little eyes sticking out of his shell. He was eating some seaweed I rubber banded to a rock to feed them. Here's a closer look at, this is the best picture I have of one of my my micromusas, my acans in the front here. I think it's pretty cool. I think this turned out as like a really good picture. Before the filter, I wasn't able to get any good pictures. So this one's really cool because it's rare. I picked it up at a local fish shop, and it was completely pink. There are very few that are completely pink. But yeah, it has a pink mouth and pink flesh too. Even the feeding tentacles, because that's what these are. These are feeding tentacles. Or even a little pink too. It's pretty cool. Pretty rare. I'm your #1 view of this channel this year. Yo, let's go. I appreciate you. Thank you. This is one of my chalice corals. This one is called Goldmeister. A lot of corals have little nicknames. They usually do that to up the price on them, but all of these are frags. I put them in like this month, so there's not much growth on them. Here's a closer look at some of my ones in the front. One of my zoanthids, one of my favorites. Really cool zoanthid. Hot green. Spicy, that tennis ball yellow green. I really like it. I can't wait till this one grows out. It's gonna look really great. Closer look at my shrimp. His name is Rome, if you're wondering. Closer look at the conch. And like another look at some corals and some fish and everything. It's pretty cool. They kind of look like sunflowers. Yeah. Tyrannix, thanks for the gifted sub to Luna. Helping someone else join the frenzy. Congratulations, freeloader Luna, for being gifted. Being gifted a sub and joining the frenzy. Hope you enjoy your emotes. So yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff there. Really happy with the way it's been turning out. But the reason why, one of the big reasons why I'm doing it is because I know a lot of people out there, you know, they kind of like to keep fish. You know, a lot of people passively kind of enjoy fish keeping and like aquarium keeping and upkeep and stuff like that. But a lot of people think that fish keeping has to be really, well, a lot of people think that saltwater fish keeping has to be really expensive. And I wanted to do well, for one, I wanted a saltwater tank, but also I didn't want to spend like $1 billion on it. I didn't want to spend like $5,000 on this tank. So I wanted to be able to put together an aquarium that was budget friendly, not cheap, budget friendly. So people can kind of feel like they can get started with fish keeping, because there's so many gadgets in fish keeping, right? Like there's like protein skimmers and controllers, and there's power heads, but there's different types of power heads, from like gyres to like normal power heads as well. And then there's sumps, and sumps come with different types of filters. And then there's your return pump, and then there's your overflow that you might have to worry about as well in there. And then there's your carbon reactor, and then there's your a different type of dosing that you could do as well. And then there's like your other media reactor that you can put in there, and the different lights and other stuff that you buy. There's so much stuff. A lot of you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about when I say this. When I say a lot of this stuff, it's just like all this junk that you can put on your tank, and sometimes it's useful, but like so what are video coming when this looks presentable? Because everybody can put water in a box and be like, look guys, look what I did. But I want to put water in the box, and I want to make like a ecosystem and a saltwater tank that you can be like, I want that. Because if I just filled the tank with water and been like, look guys, look what I did, then a lot of people will be like, yeah, whatever, dipshit. But if I actually have a good, like thriving saltwater tank with like coral and fish and inverts, and it's stable and it's easy to maintain and it's cheap and all of that type of stuff, when it looks good, then I'll make the video on it. But until then, it's just a project in the background at the moment. Bucket of water and rocks tour. Yeah, that's what it'd be. Yeah, that's what it'd be. Congratulations, Dr. Jackie. Thank you, Tyrannix, for gifting a sub to another freeloader, helping them join the frenzy. Being probably Pog. Enjoy your emotes. Dumbass, that's just water in a box. I feel that's neat. Yeah, so it was really intimidating for me as well. Learning about coral, what the hell they are, because coral look like plants, right? And they kind of act like plants, but they're actually animals. They're living animals. They eat, they poop, they, you know, they do need light. A lot of them do need light, but some of them don't, right? Like they grow, they have bones. They have skin and bones, yeah? It's a lot of animals, right? Yeah, like coral are made up of polyps, and a polyp is an individual animal that is a part of a colony of polyps that is a coral, and that colony of polyps usually share like resources and stuff like that, right? So they're like they're all have one skeleton, and yeah. I thought they were living rocks. No, they are animals. They are living animals. They're not much different than fish and stuff. Is that where the coral shocked Nemo? Yeah, because he was a loser. Freeloader hunting season. It really is freeloader hunting season. But yeah, so I wanted to do that. Right now, I think I'm coming in under, so I'm not counting all the stuff I'm putting in the tank, like, you know, all the coral, because that's a really personal decision, and where I get it from, what time I get it, and what I'm getting completely changes the price of a lot of these things. But like the setup itself, the sand, well, I'm like the sand, the rocks, the tank, the light, the filter, the heater, the auto top off, and the salt, and the water, that I'm all coming into that's what I'm putting into the price. And I think I tabulated it to be like around $150, something like that, something along those lines. So being able to start up a saltwater tank for honestly that little is way better than a lot of people think, especially with inflation and everything, right? Like 150 or for all this, barring all the stuff that I specifically put in it from where I got it from. Yeah, that's not bad. I thought it was going to be a lot more. No, yeah, to get it like a tank just running. Yeah, not that bad. Now there's some other things I'm going to be putting in there as well, but the prices for those change so dramatically. So I'll just kind of give a ballpark price because I put phytoplankton, copepods, phytoplankton and copepods into the tank as well. And there's like some other stuff external that you rely on to keep the tank maintained, like your refractometer. Basically, it's a little thing that you like drip water into, and you look through it, and depending on like how much salt you have in the water, it reads like a certain number. And obviously that's needed for you to know how salty your water is, because if the water is too salty or not salty enough, everything in the tank will die. So yeah, I always find copepods really funny. Little copepods. But yeah, I think copepods are really important for like a thriving tank and everything. So yeah, so that's what I'm on right now. I think like 150, 200, something along those lines. I have to recalculate. I know it's in the 100, like low 100s, high 100s range. I don't think I cracked 200, but if I did, it's low 200, something along those lines. Specifically because of the light that I got. It's only an $80 light, but like a lot of you don't know too much about lights, but lights on saltwater aquariums and aquariums just in general can get expensive quickly. Simply for a light like this, if I didn't find like a really decent one at a decent price, I would have easily been spending like that same amount that I told you the tank was worth for a light, like 150. Yeah, 150 for the light itself. And a lot of people spend like $300-500 on the light itself, depending on if you get it like a bigger tank or more. Honestly, you can easily spend $1,000 on the light itself, if you want to, if you really want to, depending on what you're getting. So yeah, so that's my plan, was just to make a saltwater tank that I can show other people and be like, look, you can do this without spending $5,000 because I know a lot of people don't want to do that. Now, saltwater fish keeping is going to be more expensive simply because you're buying coral. And once again, coral are not plants, they're animals. And so they'll obviously cost more because they're animals. And they need like uptake like an animal. One could spend a lot more on the tank of the same size. Yeah, it's a 14 gallon. It's a 14 gallon actually. So it's really not that big, but it's not that bad either. Yeah, maybe sometime I'll do like a little breakdown so far of how I put it together. But a whole video breakdown that I want to do for this project that I'm doing it's some time in the making.
The White House initially dismissed it as a temporary phenomenon, and it took months for Biden to grasp the impact it was having on the electorate. The episode cost them.
Just so you know, I know we're back into it. They're talking about inflation. It took months for Biden to realize that inflation was a problem for the election.
Credibility with voters and overshadowed the economic strides being made elsewhere. They didn't jump on it fast enough, said Mike Lux, a Democratic strategist and co-founder of Democracy Partners, who defended Biden's record but lamented that it never took hold with working-class voters. It was really hurting people, and we just didn't respond in the way that we could have and should have on policy, to an extent, but definitely on communications. But beyond the policy turning points, critics faulted the president and his close advisors for badly misreading Democrats' 2020 victory as driven by a groundswell of support for Biden himself, rather than a temporary expression of
Oh no. That was the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing that got me, is that a lot of people genuinely like, oh my gosh, everybody loves Joe. We love Joe. No, we hate Trump. We don't love Joe. Okay. Like, and the quicker you get that around your heads, the easier winning elections in the future will be. Should have done a lot better this time. But yeah, no, we do not love Joe. Honestly, not loving Joe probably would have made it, understanding that we don't love Joe probably would have made it a whole lot better for getting this, like getting somebody in there who could have actually won this damn election.
Rather than a temporary expression of dissatisfaction over the pandemic and an unpopular incumbent in Trump. Biden, who had at one point in the 2020 campaign pledged to be a bridge candidate to a new generation, later based his run for re-election on the belief that only he could defeat Trump.
I said
Even
I
as
was
he
a
showed clear
bridge, but I
signs,
lied.
At 81, he was not the dynamic candidate of even 4 years ago. In polling dating back to 2023, more than 3/4 of Americans believed Biden was too old for office. They failed to see his inability to step up his game, Zogby said of Biden's top aides. There was this sense that there was nobody out there who could do it. The decision froze several would-be successors in place, linking the
Wait, I'm sorry. I know this is a serious situation, but like, Chad, did you see this? The guy who shot that UnitedHealth CEO. Well, the guy who allegedly shot that UnitedHealth CEO guy. He was an Among Us player. He was doing training. he was doing recon and training this whole time. He was a big ain't no fucking way. Ain't no way. Apparently Luigi. Apparently Luigi, that's the guy who shot the guy's name. Well, once again, let me say, sorry. The guy who allegedly shot the guy's name. Because I'm not sure if the NYPD got a good grasp on this one. Did you guys see videos of the NYPD searching for him, and they were like poking bushes with sticks and in Central Park? Did you all see that? That's what I was like. I was like, is this really where the $11 billion budget is going? Their asses were like walking in the park, poking bushes with sticks. I was like, are you serious? You can't be serious right now. I almost fell to my knees. Wait, let me see if I can pull this up, because it was remarkable. Can I find this? Let's see. I gotta do a quick scroll arena. We call this a scroll arena. Flabbergasted, man. You'll never see me more tweaked out than I am at the moment. No, the Assad Talk Tua episode is going to be canceled because of this, chat. What are we gonna do? I was really looking forward to that one. Where is this? I know you're out here. I know. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, here's the video. I found it. Grass is walking in the park. Look at them hunting. New York's bravest on the beat. Oh, here they go. Luigi's never going to get away with this one. I can see how they caught him. Very serious manhunt. Wait until they turn up the heat and get the stick. See, he just checked that bush. Clear, boss. This bush? Clear, boss. You see that guy? He grabbed a stick. He's poking the bush with the stick now. Yeah. He got him. Yep. That's a rock. How about this one? That's a rock. This bush? Yep. Ain't no killer in there. Wait. Yeah, no killer in there either. Wait. He thought, oh, that's an NYC classic. You act like you're gonna stop checking the bush, and then you turn around and check the bush again. You don't know how many criminals they've got off the street with that one. Are these rocks? No, they're leaves. Damn, Private, that's why we pay you the big bucks. It's truly remarkable stuff.
The decision froze several would-be successors in place, linking the party to a candidate who his advisors insisted would gain momentum as the race progressed. And despite mounting worries among Democrats about Biden's effectiveness, it took until June's catastrophic debate for those concerns to go public. Even then, Biden spent nearly a month trying to salvage his run before dropping out, leaving little time for Democrats to audition new candidates. It would have been better if we had had a primary, even if Harris was the eventual victor, said Rep. Seth Moulton, D-Mass, one of the first congressional Democrats to publicly call for Biden to step aside after the debate. And it was necessary for the Democratic nominee to separate him or herself from an unpopular incumbent, as much as we love Joe Biden. None of those things happened. Instead, Harris inherited the race with just over 3 months to go, forced to rely on Biden's campaign infrastructure while developing her own presidential platform on the fly. Biden, to his credit, took an immediate backseat as Harris tried to establish her identity as a candidate and make up ground to Trump, the president's critics said. But by that point it was too late, both for his reputation and the fortunes of the Democratic Party. He's a good man who can be proud of his accomplishments. But his legacy is in tatters, Manley said. The country is headed in a very dangerous direction and it's due in part to his arrogance.
He's a good man. You can't like doom us to a Trump presidency because you're too arrogant and then say you're a good man. I think you're a bad guy. We don't love Joe here. Bad guy. Bad guy. And on the Cheney decision too. This Rolling Stone article dropped the other day, and I wanted to go over this one too, because man, this one was something. Dem insiders begged Harris not to campaign with Liz Cheney. People don't want to be in a coalition with the devil, says a Democratic source who was appalled by Harris's embrace of Dick Cheney. Appalled. The devil. Let's check it. Thank you, Rolling Stone. Let's see what it's all about.
He's a good man who can be proud of his accomplishments.
Nope, that's not what I want.
Kamala Harris's 2024 campaign started out fun. It opened with the politics of joy and a hearty dose of mockery aimed at Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance. The campaign quickly adopted a different tack, attempting to project strength and leadership, while courting support from Republicans concerned about the threat posed by Trump. That approach culminated with Harris campaigning with former Republican Representative Liz Cheney and touting an endorsement from her father, former Vice President and Iraq War architect Dick Cheney. The pitch bombed with Republicans, as Democrats' share of moderates and independents fell and overall Democratic support crumbled, too. Now, that approach culminated with Harris campaigning with former Republican Representative Liz Cheney and touting an endorsement from her father, former Vice President and Iraq War architect Dick Cheney. The pitch bombed with Republicans, as Democrats' share of moderates and independents fell and overall Democratic support crumbled, too. Now, several Democratic operatives and insiders tell Rolling Stone they tried to convince the Harris campaign and her allies that palling around with the Cheneys was a bad idea with little upside, and could harm Harris's support among disaffected Democratic voters. The sources requested anonymity to discuss sensitive intra-party matters.
Yeah, so I mean, this is something that a lot of people were talking about. How just being this close to Republicans isn't worth it. It's just not worth it, right? Like we've talked about this so much before, but like campaigns these days are about bringing out your base. Just remember, more Democrats make up the party composition in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, in all of those states. In every single last one of them, there are more Democrats than Republicans. They don't need that big like outreach to be able to win elections. They just don't. They literally don't need it. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't try to get moderate they shouldn't try and get like moderate independent votes and stuff like that. They should, yes, but like the number one thing should be getting out your base. I'm sorry, Donald Trump is the base. He is the base president. He riles up and he gets out his base. Yes, it works. It works very well. Turnout is very important. The reason why Harris lost this election was because she can't turn out her base. She couldn't turn out the Democratic base. There were 15 million less Democrats who wanted to come out and vote this year than they did last time. And Cheney did not help with that. She didn't. I'm sorry, she didn't. She just did not. Dr. Osmosium, thank you so much for the gifted 2 subs. Thank you. Favorite emotes out for Tyrannix and Osmosium for like being so incredibly kind today. Thank you so much for the love. I really appreciate that. And congratulations, freeloaders, for the extra. And congratulations, freeloaders, for joining the frenzy once again. When UnitedHealth denies your coverage. Wait, what is this? In life, you have 3 options. Give up. Try again. Call Luigi. Luigi, we need you. Oh no. I thought somebody else was, I thought I'd see more Mario versus Rabbids Luigi memes, because Luigi was a sniper in that game. Wait. Where can I get? Yeah, I thought this picture, man. Open image in new tab. Whoop. Yeah, I thought we'd start seeing more of this shit after we figured out his name. Oh, after we figured out his name was literally Luigi. He rolling around, he's sliding around with that thing on him. A lot of people are saying that the guy who allegedly shot that CEO, they're saying that he had back surgery as well. That like corrective back surgery where they drill nails into your damn spine. People say it hurt like a bitch. Allegedly, his Steam profile has 8 hours in the Trump assassination game. Wait, so he played Among Us, and he played the and he allegedly played the Trump assassination game? Allegedly, Trump shooter Thomas Matthew used a gaming platform stream that featured potential assassination game of Trump. There is no evidence he played the game. Luigi loved Among Us, video game where you become a secret killer. Secret killer. Are any secret killers in chat? He's a goddamn super soldier. Yeah, we can see how he was able to get away for so long. He hopped into the vent right after shooting that guy. And by vent, I mean Central Park, because that's apparently what it is. You just lose your wanted level after you hop into Central Park. It's crazy. It's great. It works every time. It really works every time. They're hiring people to write shit like this. Okay, it's time to become a video game article writer. Okay, it seems like that's your calling.
But sources requested anonymity to discuss sensitive intra-party matters. One source close to the Harris campaign tells Rolling Stone they reached out to several staffers in and around the campaign to voice concerns about the candidate embracing Dick and Liz Cheney.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like we talked about it before. Everybody cares about people who leave the Republican Party. Nobody cares about people who leave the Democratic Party. Why aren't these people coming out to vote for us anymore? What's up with their policies? And what's up with the politicians and maybe their policies? But it's obviously not the Democratic policies, because I'm sorry, but like in almost every state, when a Democratic policy is, or the left-wing policy is up for a vote, like people vote for it. If you take Joe Biden's legacy, like Joe Biden's policy proposals and the policy he actually got done, and Joe Biden, there's like a 80-point deficit between the man and his alleged policy. And like, there's gonna be a lot of centrist Dems as we move on into the Trump presidency again, who are going to be complaining about progressives again. But I'm sorry, Warren and Sanders and AOC putting together putting together Joe Biden's policy platform that didn't exist before he even like won the nomination is the only thing people like about Joe Biden. I'm sorry, but it's true. People are he's way too progressive policy proposal. That's what ended him. No, it's not. His progressive policy is the only thing people like about this guy. That's it. And a lot of people are too scared to say it. But how in the world can you hold up his policy platform that people rate better than Donald Trump's? And in Donald Trump himself, they rate it better than both of those things. But not the guy. And then you look and you go, it's obviously the only thing that people like about the campaign. Tim Walz, the more progressive seen person in the Harris campaign, was more popular than Kamala Harris. The best part of the Harris campaign is the progressives part. The best part of the Biden campaign is the progressive part. But apparently, get rid of the progressive part, be more Republican is the path forward to these people? Okay. It's really worked out so far, hasn't it? Terminix, thanks for the gifted sub for Hex. Congratulations, freeloader Hex. Terminix helped you join the frenzy and be Pog. Enjoy your emotes, Pookie. Enjoy yourself. Dude, progressive policy, Democrats can't win where progressive policy does in Republican states. There's a problem. There's a problem with the brand. There's a problem with there's a problem with the brand. There's a problem with Democrats. There's a problem with messaging. There's a problem with candidates, but there's not a problem with policy. There's not a problem with policy. It's not there. They got too many people paying them, and they got too many people in their ear telling them to do something different. But it's not the policy. It never has been.
One source close to the Harris campaign tells Rolling Stone they reached out to several staffers in and around the campaign to voice concerns about the candidate embracing Dick and Liz Cheney. People don't want to be in a coalition with the devil, says the source, speaking about Dick Cheney. They say a Harris staffer responded that it was not the staff's role to challenge the campaign's decisions. A Democratic strategist says they warned key Harris surrogates and top-level officials at the Democratic National Committee that campaigning with Liz Cheney and making the campaign's closing argument about how many Republicans were supporting Harris was highly unlikely to motivate any new swing voters and risk dissuading already despondent, infrequent Democratic voters who had supported Biden in 2020. The strategist says they also attempted to have big donors and battleground state party chairs convey the same argument to the Harris campaign.
I will say there were way less donors up in arms this time.
Another Democratic operative close to Harris World says they sent memos and data to Harris campaign staffers underscoring how, among other things, Republican voters, believe it or not, vote Republican, and that the data over the past
the
Democrats instead needed to reassure and energize the liberal base and Dem-leaning working class in battleground states.
Oh my gosh.
Basically, to get lost. No thank you.
Who could have seen it coming? They told them to fuck off. Dude, look. Republicans like Republicans, not Democrats, and they're gonna vote for Republicans. You should instead try to reach out to your base. They told them kick rocks, man.
Says the operative.
Who are these people? She didn't want to win.
Respond to a request for comment. Following the Harris campaign's crushing loss to Trump, there's an argument to be made that Democrats never really stood a chance this election cycle, given Joe Biden's unpopularity and Americans' unhappiness with a brutal economy. But Harris exerted far more effort attempting to appeal to Republicans, moderates, and independents than the Democratic base, which has been demoralized in part.
Thank you, I like cats.
Continued support for Israel's.
Thanks for the 5 super chat.
Exit polls suggest Democrats had major turnout issues. The portion of the 2024 electorate that identified as Democrat declined significantly compared to past presidential elections. Former White House press secretary and MSNBC host Jen Psaki said Friday on Morning Joe that Democrats spent too much time listening to and lifting up Republicans who left Trump in the Never Trump movement. The people who left the Democratic Party are the people who are going to win in the future, she said. The people who left Trump, the Never Trumpers, who have important voices, that is not a winning coalition. Interestingly, Bill Kristol, a top Never Trump Republican, publicly urged Harris in the final weeks of the campaign to pitch a progressive, populist economic message against Trump and his army of billionaire supporters.
Why is my Democrat getting outflanked from the left by Bill fucking Kristol, man? Even the fucking Republicans see. Grant us eyes. Grant us eyes. Oh, so that we may see the light. Grant us eyes. Grant us eyes. Dude, my closest to left wing party is blind as fuck, dude. They're blind as hell. Grant us eyes. Oh, we're so blind. We can't see a thing, man. I can't see a single thing. We live in the darkness. We are really the Republicans, never Trump Republicans are begging. We're begging Harris to outflank Trump from the left. Progressive populist message. Who could have ever seen that coming, man? Now there was another article that dropped from Not Us about how Harris's campaign was apparently broken from the very beginning. Let's take a look. I was one of the people that said that Harris's campaign was kind of ticking along and it wasn't doing a lot of things right for like a little while. And, you know, the longer it went on, the more problems obviously came up. Let's take a look.
In early October, Kamala Harris was supposed to film fundraising videos for her campaign, which in a month's time would be defunct and in debt. Going over the script ahead of time, Harris read, "We missed our fundraising deadline." Then she stopped and told aides, "We can't lie to people by saying they missed their fundraising goals." According to 4 people with knowledge of the conversation, one junior-level aide later had to tell Harris's campaign chief of staff, Sheila Nix, the truth. The campaign had missed its fundraising goals. There had been rumblings about the financial situation since September, said one Democrat. Another said the campaign had missed its fundraising goal in September, after money slowed in August and the boon from the convention wasn't as high as the campaign expected. Now, the second Democrat said, Harris has begun to ask questions about where the money went. Some blamed the major hole on TV reservations and consultant contracts that were agreed to while President Joe Biden was still on the ticket and in charge of this behemoth organization that the Harris campaign then fulfilled. Others blamed a fear within the campaign that missed deadlines would go public, so it began spending more on fundraising appeals with a negative return on their investments. Others say it was a byproduct of the
There's a reason why I've been putting off reading some of this stuff because it's bad. Some of it is bad. Like, they just don't look at it. You think you might be broke, so you just don't open your bank account? No, man. But they still got like $1 billion. What happened? And what do you mean that there were like obligations from the Biden campaign? The Biden campaign doesn't exist anymore. What do you mean? Do Dems want to win? I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know. Listen, they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. It's their quirk. It's their superpower. Oh, I'm losing my mind. Here's how Biden can still win.
Others say it was a byproduct of the disorganization of a campaign that was unable to register voters' anger. Find a persuasive message to answer it or effectively harness the momentum Harris generated until the very end. I'm amazed that we even got close, said one Democratic official close to the campaign. The campaign has been broken since the beginning. Nearly all of the more than a dozen campaign aides, Democratic operatives, strategists and White House officials Notice spoke with for this story rested the brunt of the blame on a political climate that punished the Biden administration and all those attached to it. Few, if any, Democrats or campaigns could have overcome that fundamental issue, they said. They also blamed Biden for staying in the race so long, after he initially billed himself as a transitional candidate, and then, once he decided he would campaign for re-election, for failing to articulate a case against Trump. And they blamed him for building a campaign with inexperienced aides who many who spoke to Notice believe weren't equipped for the Herculean task of getting an unpopular incumbent re-elected. We dug out of a deep hole, but not enough, David Plouffe, a senior advisor for Harris, wrote on X. Soon after posting the message, he deleted his account. But many also directed blame at campaign leaders like Jen O'Malley Dillon. And they blamed him for building a campaign. They also blamed Biden for staying in the race so long, after he initially billed himself as a transitional candidate, and then, once he decided he would campaign for re-election,
I love lying to people.
To articulate a case against Trump. And they blamed him for building a campaign with inexperienced aides.
Yeah, he did fail to articulate a case against Trump, but he also couldn't. He I don't know, he after the June debate, I don't know, man. Joe Biden, he's just randomly, he'll go geezer mode and he can't speak for a week. And then randomly he'll turn it back up again and he'll be the old Joe. I don't know, man. He's falling apart.
Many who spoke to Notice believe weren't equipped for the Herculean task of getting an unpopular incumbent re-elected. We dug out of a deep hole, but not enough, David Plouffe, a senior advisor for Harris, wrote on X. Soon after posting the message, he deleted his
He
account.
deleted his
But Nate
account.
also directed blame at campaign leaders like Jen O'Malley Dillon, Harris's campaign chair, and her deputy, Rob Flaherty. The Democrats who spoke to Notice say the campaign leadership failed the vice president by creating a campaign that was over-reliant on analytics. It was so insular and micromanaged, they say, that it required O'Malley Dillon to make all the decisions, with leadership resistant to advice or change from Harris aides. And they ultimately fault the leadership for being financially irresponsible. Even the best, smoothest campaign operation isn't enough on its own to win an election. But in tight races with close margins in the right states, they can make a difference. If you believe that campaigns matter, and if you look at Tammy Baldwin, Jackie Rosen, Ruben Gallego, and even Bob Casey in many ways,
All the people who, oh,
if you believe that campaigns matter and that's why the results are a little different, then you have to say that she lost because of her campaign, said an operative close to the campaign. The other way to do it is, maybe campaigns don't matter at all, they said. Then why are we even campaigning at all on anything? Multiple sources who spoke with Notice lamented how difficult it was to hire staff at the inception of Biden's re-election campaign. Few wanted to work for Biden and even fewer wanted to move to Wilmington, where the campaign was headquartered. One campaign aide said a few of those who were hired for senior roles were, in reality, years too junior for their responsibilities. Even when Biden was still on the ticket, aides who had run national campaigns noticed that the infrastructure was severely lacking. And when the candidate switch occurred,
you know what I'm starting to think? Maybe the reason why Biden lost all of his campaigns back before Obama scooped him up and recouped his image. Maybe the reason why he lost all those campaigns is because he's a little stupid and his aides suck ass. And he actually is just, he can't get rid of anybody because they're his genuine friends. His aides are just so ass. And they were able to still kind of squeak by in 2020, because he did kind of squeak by. Trump got close to winning the election again. He was able to squeak by in 2020. They made it, but like they couldn't do it this time. Oh, they reverted back. Any challenging race and they're cooked. Oh, they crash under pressure. They are so incredibly bad at this. I don't know. Dude, people need to get fired, man.
And when the candidate switch occurred, seasoned people who wanted to come on found it difficult to navigate the existing infrastructure. They believed that it was unlikely that Harris understood the teetering giant she inherited. And even if she did, it would have been too costly time-wise to rebuild in 100 days. The Biden campaign was also not ready for the energy and support that rushed in from Democrats when Harris first took over. One operative outside the campaign told Notice that during the first hours after Harris got into the race, thousands of donors who contributed to ActBlue were prompted to tip the service after they donated. When asked by Harris aides if a volunteer registration form could replace it to capture the newly interested Democrats, the campaign didn't have such a form available.
What?
The campaign said the link was added to the site several hours later and able to capture 170,000 volunteers that day.
Are they even trying?
When asked by Harris aides if a volunteer registration, the Biden campaign was also not ready for the energy and support that rushed in from Democrats when Harris first took over. One operative outside the campaign told Notice that during the first hours after Harris got into the race, thousands of donors who contributed to ActBlue were prompted to tip the service after they donated. When asked by Harris aides if a volunteer registration form could replace it to capture the newly interested Democrats, the campaign didn't have such a form available.
Oh, so the page that you were sending people to where they could donate to the campaign and stuff didn't have a place where they could volunteer for the campaign whatsoever, and they didn't even think about it. You didn't don't you think that you would want that ready to go the second you really hop in, so you could? So even if not, you don't think too many people are gonna hop in. The people who do, you want them to get involved in the campaign as soon as possible, right? There's 100 days. They're not even acting like it.
When asked by Harris aides if a volunteer registration form could replace it, there were things that could not be operationalized because the infrastructure was so limited, said a second outside ally. Another said it was impossible to scale up at the pace required to keep up with the surge of enthusiastic Democrats wanting to volunteer and give money to Harris. Because of the complicated way the campaign was initially stood up by Biden. In the end, more than 1.3 million donors who signed up to donate to Harris unsubscribed from the messaging program run by Flaherty by Election Day, the first outside operative said.
Oh my lord. Oh my lord. What the fuck? The hell, man? 1.3 million unsubscribe? Oh, you did. Harris, don't campaign with Cheney. You are going to lose subscriber. Yo, Bert, thanks for the raid. Hello, Raiders. I'm happy to have you. We're doing some reading today. We're reading up on all the stuff that I missed over all the articles that I had just kind of laying around that I wanted to get to. There's a lot of stuff that I really want to just, take a deep little dive into over the past like month or two. Right. And I think this is a great time to, just do this over the next couple of months here. Next couple of weeks here, next couple of streams. I don't expect all this to go over for months. We're not that slow with reading, right? But thanks for the raid. Appreciate you. Hope you guys are doing well. Right now we're going over some stuff about Harris's campaign and how it was we never actually had a chance. We were cooked from the beginning. Now I knew we were like pretty cooked from the beginning, but maybe we could uncook the situation through like good campaigning. The problem was there was never a good campaign to exist in the first place. There was only an image of a good campaign to exist because people wanted Harris to win for a little while. But then like the fact that the campaign sucked ass so bad, just kind of, it screwed itself and all of us along with it. Terranix, thanks for the gifted sub. To Layla Morris, congratulations Morris for joining the frenzy and becoming incredibly pog. Say thank you. Everyone say thank you to our friend Tyrannex. Thank you. We continue on. Man, yeah, Biden's campaign was so ass. I don't know. Like, I really feel like one of the first things she should have done is start slimming down the campaign. But, chat, here's the thing. Like, I don't think that she had the heart in her to get rid of the Biden people. Remember, she genuinely loves Joe Biden. And so she genuinely loves Joe Biden's people as well, right? I think that she didn't want to like fire those people because she couldn't. They're like, these are my friends. Because she worked with them during the first campaign. She's like, these are my friends. I can't get rid of them. They're my besties. Please. Don't make me get rid of them. Come on. Well, they won in 2020, didn't they? I'm losing my damn mind. Biden told her, don't trash me or I leak everything. No, the Biden campaign, Biden literally was doing more to separate himself from Harris than she was. Biden was like, I had an article here. I didn't pull it up, but like Biden was meeting with the Harris campaign on ways in which that she could separate herself from him. Right? Like, no, like, I don't know. We love our little conspiracies, but no, even Biden was like, yeah, you'll get clipped if you stay this close to me. Even he was distancing himself from her on her behalf. She didn't want to. She loves Biden. She loves Joe. It makes me sick.
Because of the complicated way the campaign was initially stood up by Biden. In the end, more than 1.3 million donors who signed up to donate to Harris unsubscribed from the messaging program run by Flaherty by Election Day, the first outside operative said. Half of those people lived in battleground states, and were therefore cut off not just from donating money but important information, like how to volunteer. The campaign said this was a normal churn of voters in a list of more than 25 million. Because of its inability to get a mass amount of people to donate multiple times, the campaign continued to miss and revise its fundraising goals, two operatives told Notice. At one point, the campaign even temporarily cut its mail program. Meanwhile, black men in Georgia were receiving more than 10 pieces of mail from Trump's team, for the operative close to the Harris campaign.
Good Lord. Oh my gosh. Oh, they were just wasting money. $1 billion. It just vanished. Poof. The campaign was so ass. Jen O'Malley Dillon is so trash at running a campaign. They wasted $1 billion. Just so you know, Kamala Harris's campaign, just Harris's campaign, okay, made more money than Donald Trump's campaign during the entirety of the election cycle. So Trump, who got hundreds of millions of less dollars than Kamala Harris, hundreds of millions less, was doing more work His campaign was doing more work than Harris's campaign, with hundreds of millions more dollars than his campaign. Blorcha had no hope. $1 billion campaign that ended in debt because they're so ass, man. Hopeless. We chat, how's it feel to look into the abyss? Hopeless. That's how it was. Suffering. Pain. Pain.
Meanwhile, black men in Georgia were receiving more than 10 pieces.
That's not what I want.
From Trump's.
You know what I want.
Operative close to the Harris campaign.
Oh my lord. You know what I want.
When Biden dropped out and endorsed the vice president, multiple people told Notice that he asked Harris to take care of his people. O'Malley Dillon requested a meeting with Harris and asked to remain on as campaign chair. Fearing critical story. When Biden dropped out and endorsed the vice president, multiple people told Notice that he asked Harris to take care of his people. O'Malley Dillon requested a meeting with Harris and asked to remain on as campaign chair. Fearing critical stories about staffing similar to those that plagued Harris's first campaign and first years as vice president, Harris relented. Kamala did not want to shake things up. She thought that what she could do is install certain people into leadership roles to make sure that she got the campaign that she wanted, said the operative close to the campaign. Others say that because of the structure of the complicated campaign, there was no way to turn O'Malley Dillon out. Her critics cite her leadership in the implosion of Beto O'Rourke's 2020 Democratic primary campaign.
Wait, she ran O'Rourke's campaign in 2020? Oh, no. No. Oh, I didn't even know that about her. No. Pain. Oh, it all makes sense now, man. Which raised $6.1 million on his first day, but ended months later due to major financial strain. This woman can't keep money down for like the life of her. She can't run a campaign for the life of her. This is her second campaign in debt. How? How do campaigns run with like a couple bucks and not end up in debt? How? What are you doing? She's addicted to wasting money. She actually can't help herself. It feels too good. Ooh, money. I know a campaign hates to see her coming, her wiggling her little fingers. Don't mind if I do. She gets paid to lose Democratic elections. Is she an op? Is she a spy, dude? I'm starting to think that Judd O'Malley Dillon might actually be a Republican plant. She has to be like controlled opposition or something. Something has to be like something is awry. She can't do it.
Which raised $6.1 million on its first day but ended months later due to major financial strain, as a precursor to this campaign. O'Malley Dillon's critics say she was insular and wanted to own all the decision-making, creating a bottleneck. In her role, she had centralized a major part of the Democratic Party's power. She was effectively the head of the White House political arm, was in control of decision-making at the DNC, despite Jamie Harrison serving as its official leader, according to two sources familiar.
What the fuck? Wait, she was in control of the DNC too? Head of the White House political arm, head of the Harris and Biden campaign. Had she like usurped Jamie Harrison as head of the DNC?
And chaired the campaign's political operation. When it was clear Harris's brother-in-law, Tony West, would be a dominating force.
She actually controlled the Democratic Party for like a year and a half. John O'Malley Dillon controlled the Democratic Party for like a year and a half. Maybe that's why everything started sucking ass. You ever think about that? Like the DNC hasn't been doing, I mean, like, you know, the house spending and everything, but wait, I can't even say that because like Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer controlled those things, like the spendings in the congressional caucuses. That wasn't. She's a plant, dude. She's a plant. It's over, Beto Bros.
When it was clear Harris's brother-in-law, Tony West, would be a dominating force on the campaign, O'Malley Dillon was initially welcoming. Two people with an understanding of the dynamics said. But then she tried to box him out by picking his chief of staff for him and pushing West to travel the country as a surrogate. A source familiar said they brought in their own chief, who they had a long-standing relationship with, after being provided a senior advisor. Before the election, O'Malley Dillon told multiple people that she would not seek another role in government even if Harris won, according to 2 sources. Flaherty, who is a major O'Malley Dillon ally, disparaged Harris and her team. 3 people familiar with his behavior said, though no one wanted to specify what he said. Another campaign aide said the digital team lacked direction. Defending Flaherty, one campaign official said he came into the campaign on good terms with Harris aides, and another said the digital team lacking direction was a mischaracterization. We had a pretty clear directive of what needs to get done, said the aide. And we did what we could within the context of the confines that we were operating in. The morning after the election,
The context that we are in,
them for the reality that they had lost.
the context of all that has
To open
been.
the meeting, Flaherty said, "There were strong headwinds against us, and it would have been even worse if it wasn't for us." Some perceived the remark as callous and detached from the gravity of the loss. The culture of the campaign was also a problem, said 4 Democrats. After melding the Biden loyalists with Harris's longtime aides and new hires, the group wanted to move on from July's drama. But campaign aides and outsiders complained to Notice for months that there was a lack of a defined leadership structure. Black aides felt routinely mistreated and demoralized, multiple people told Notice. Some had even wanted to make formal complaints and refrained for fear of retaliation.
Oh my gosh. There was even there was even racism inside of the Biden campaign that spilled over into the Harris campaign, and nobody could do anything about it. Nice. Oh, this is perfect. Honestly, it's like perfect garbage. It really is. It's everything that I was expecting. It's everything. Like, I'm kind of happy about this because, like I said, it means that we had no chance. It was always over. It was always over. If it was just like a little thing here and there, I could always think, oh, only if, but no, there isn't only if. There is not. We have searched through all known universes, and there is not a single one where Harris's campaign in this way, after Joe Biden dropped out after the debate, was going to win. I don't think she just couldn't have done it. She didn't have that dog in her at the end of the day. She didn't have that dog in her. The campaign was literally insane and racist, and there was just nothing else that could have been done. It was over. Simply over. Their heads too far up their own ass. People getting paid to like lose the election again. Okay.
Black aides felt routinely mistreated and demoralized, multiple people told Notice. Some had even wanted to make formal complaints and refrained for fear of retaliation.
We weren't even in the game.
Senior allies to Harris pushed the campaign and the DNC to have a Palestinian speaker on stage at the August convention. Trying to further the goodwill Harris had earned from the Arab and Muslim communities furious over Gaza, but they were denied.
That's true. That moving into the DNC, there was a lot of there was a whole lot more goodwill towards Harris from the Arab and Muslim community. There really was, where Harris has been shown to actually disagree with Biden when it comes to his staunch support for Israel over that time frame. And she was kind of making some good on that as well, like especially after Netanyahu made his way to the White House, and she gave that a pretty deep, from what I expect from like a normal normie national dem, a pretty good speech that really really striked at what a lot of people were feeling when it comes to getting this war to end. She just never continued with that language at all, ever again. And then they instituted the Muslim ban, and then the Muslim ban came.
Trying to further the goodwill Harris had earned from the Arab and Muslim communities furious over Gaza, but they were denied. One person said it was at the behest of the national security team. The second campaign staffer said aides had gallows humor, and some had a 9-to-5 work mentality.
I just work here, man. Nice. So there's so many people out there who genuinely cared about the Harris campaign, but they weren't able to get any of those people in, and all the people were just like here to clock in and clock out, who were left over from the Biden campaign, because that's the only people that they were able to get in, because nobody cared about Joe Biden except for like the few people who were losing the campaign. Okay. Only people who lose campaigns were in the pot for Biden. Okay.
Harris hired an onslaught of high-profile operatives from former President Barack Obama's successful 2008 and 2012 campaigns. hoping they could harness the late summer excitement and turn it into a winning outcome. But many saw the additions of Plouffe and others as just backup for O'Malley Dillon, as they had all come from Obama world. There was no one who had a different viewpoint, and anybody who had
Ken dropped the Luigi Manifesto. Is that what we're calling it? The Luigi Manifesto? That's pretty funny. I obtained a copy of Luigi's Manifesto. Oh, Maria! Don't save her. She's about to, she just let her go. Did he write this shit on Snapchat? Luigi. Apparently he wrote this on Snapchat. So this is apparently the 262 word manifesto from the guy who shot that CEO guy. Let's see. Look at that schnoz. He really is Luigi. This is from Ken Kippenklein. You know him. Ken Klippenstein. Friend of the stream. It almost could be a tweet. Yeah, it's almost tweet length. I've obtained Louis on out. I've obtained a copy of the suspected killer Luigi Magno. Is that pronounced? Is that so? I know for a fact this is like Italian. Is the G pronounced with like an H? Or is it like Mangoni? Mangione. It's probably Mangione, right? Mangione. From Luigi Mangione's manifesto. The real one, not the forgery circling online. Major media outlets are also in possession of the document and have refused to publish it, and not the reason why. Okay. I have more to say on this later, but right now, to the feds. I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial. Some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. My tech is pretty locked down because I work in engineering, so probably not much info there. I do apologize for any strife and traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the US has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly the 42nd in life expectancy. United is the indecipherable largest company in the US by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, and Walmart. Okay, that's like, I mean, it's behind a couple companies, but it was grown and grown, but our life expectancy, no, the reality is, these indecipherable have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument, but many have illuminated the corruption and greed, e.g. Rosenthal Moore. Moore isn't like the filmmaker guy? Decades ago, the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly the power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. Crazy. We'll have more to talk about this a little later. Well, I'll have more to say about this a little later. But I mean, it's basically what we were expecting, right? CEO guy runs a company whose every single dollar that they have is literally every single dollar that they have is literally a testament to how good they are at not paying out their benefit, not the benefit, how good they are at not paying out their claims that their customers have when it comes to their life. But yeah, okay. Whether this is true or not, I guess we'll see. I'm not sure if this is real, so I guess we'll see if this is real. I don't know. We'll find out. I plan on covering, talking about all this a little bit later, honestly. But at the moment, I have to cut it a little short. I'm sorry, my chat, but I'm going to have to cut it short here. I need to go pick up the GF from work. I was expecting him to get away, honestly. I was expecting him to get away too. When I saw those, when I saw the NYC cops start poking at bushes with sticks, I was like, oh yeah, he's gone. Oh yeah, he's hooked. Finished. Dunzo. Oh, it's over. But you're leaving us again? I gotta pick up the GF. What can I do? What can I do? It has to be done. I'm sorry. She'll literally beat me if I don't. She will beat me. You don't want my girlfriend to beat me now, do you? You wouldn't want that for your stream. Then I actually won't come back. I'll be done for. Thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate you. I'll be back later. We need to finish up this article. I think one more article, and then we'll do a couple more things when it comes to catching up on everything. And then we'll play a little bit of Marvel Rivals. What do you think? Sounds fun to me. Okay, everyone. Take care. See you in a bit.